Hello and welcome to the Library of Chaos podcast. I'm Wozni.
I am Malbrium.
And this is the Guns of Jimbus.
Well, today we're going to continue our discussion on the Gaunt's Ghost Saint arc with Book 2, The Guns of Tanith. What did we think of The Guns of Tanith? Do we have any comments on that? As a general comments on the book?
I remember the Guns of Tanith because there was a chapter of it in a White Dwarf, one of the very early ones I read. And I remember it so distinctly because it had the Void Shield generators and the final line, "I'll go tell Gaunt." That was absolute hype and made me want to go out and buy it as soon as it appeared in a local bookshop. I'll always remember Guns of Tanith with that one sample chapter that was in an old White Dwarf.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's interesting. I think one of the notes I've got here about this book is that it's got a lot of... there's a lot of sort of development for characters. I know we sort of said that the last book is... It's like how we introduce characters into the... before they are Vervenhivers, now have got them in the Ghost. But now we're seeing a lot of... major developments for certain characters and their place in the regiment in this book. It's really a common theme for all of these books.
I think one of the things that interested me a lot about this book is that we see a lot more of the Ghosts as a regiment doing Ghost regiment things. A lot of the time in the book so far, they've kind of just been doing regular God stuff, whereas Gaunt makes a huge thing about how they're a stealth regiment and they're better at scouting and they should be doing basically special forces kind of ops sort of thing. And in this book we actually see them doing a lot more of that, which is interesting.
You know what? That's true. We had probably the most we've seen as actual stealth missions has been in the short stories in Ghostmaker so far.
True.
We got to see some urban fighting and some no, we don't want to do it that way in the last book. But yeah, I get what you mean. For sure in this one. It gets and
I thought that was really interesting to see. It's a break and an interesting take on Imperial Guards fighting in a battle, because obviously this is very, very different than just run at them and shoot your flashlights kind of thing.
You know what? That's an interesting
thematic elements to. Sorry.
Yeah. I think the thematic stuff is. I think it's kind of funny you say that because I think there's a lot of guard books, and I think a lot of the guard books people think of as that's just a guard book, and then the Gaunt's Ghosts book people think of as that's the Gaunt's Ghost series. It's like the guard books but better, and here are the reasons why. And one of those reasons why is they're not just guard; they're stealthy, specialized guys. It's sort of I know every regiment and every single unit of the guard other than Cadians have got a thing going on, but Gaunt's Ghosts are they have a reputation as a novel series of not being about that. But you're right, a lot of the books are just a regular guard story, and it's not really the fact that they are the Tanith first and only that sets them aside. It's the fact that it's Dan Abnett writing it, and it's got excellent character development and such. But yeah.
Well, the other thing is that there's almost as much material off the battlefield as there is on it. Most guard books, it's the guard in a war zone fighting. This book in particular, there's a big chunk of it that has nothing to do with the battle. It's something you can never get in a tabletop war game. It's a courtroom drama.
I suppose. Well, with that...
Or murder mystery. It's... Yeah.
Shall we get into the spoilers?
Let's get started.
I think it starts like the last book with a history blurb. I think that's the standard from these books onward, right? And I think the history blurb here, we're told the Crusades has supply lines cut and they need this planet for fuel. And we get a nice little map of the city. With the,
and Abnett provides context very quickly for why they can't just blast the shit out of everything that moves.
We need it
with space guns. Yeah.
Well, they never do that. That would be ridiculous.
He does in this book. He does at least in this book.
No, I mean they never blast things
I'm sure.
from space.
Oh yeah, no, they never blast things from space, but at least in this book he provides context for
You
why.
say they never blast things from space. I remember a later Dan Abnett Gord's Ghost books where they do blast things from space.
Well, there is that short
We'll
story
get there.
where they fire like one round at a building.
We did have less. We'd had the one. But
When
yeah.
we get to this one, I'm going to talk about it for hours. But
Okay.
They fired that one round from from space that takes out a single building in pinpoint accuracy, and then they complain that they never use space guns because they're so inaccurate and they'll kill themselves with them for like the next forever.
I mean, you can always do like all I can think of right now is the fucking Last Chances scene. The fucking guy who's just like standing there, like, yeah, we have orbital bombardment hitting this entire area right in front of me, standing there.
Oh yeah, fuck! They're all just watching. Yeah. Oh, that was pretty funny. Fucking hell.
The map's interesting because it's a very strange war zone that we're looking at when you look at this map with all these spheres, these domes. You get to see the alpha, gamma, and beta domes, and don't know why I ordered them that way. And the all these like pipes connecting these burn off stacks and things like that. It's very you don't even start the book yet, and you're like, oh, this doesn't look like a normal place a fight would happen.
Oh fuck yeah! I hadn't actually seen this map before. I'm just
of course. Now you're missing out on things, audiobook listener.
Unfortunately, Toby Longworth didn't describe the map. Yeah, that's quite disappointing.
Can you imagine Toby Longworth describing the map?
It would be incredible, as everything else Toby Longworth does. You know.
We get immediately. I think we go into a training scene, don't we?
Yeah. So something else
for
interesting.
A nighttime rope drop.
And another interesting factor of Imperial Guard's life, especially for a special forces unit like the Tanith that you don't really see that often. Although I guess we did see Cage training his troops in Last Chances. So I guess
training, quote unquote.
Well, it was something at least.
It was something is the best description you could ever have for the Last Chances series.
Interesting note for later. This, because I really wondered how they were gonna. I remember. So I read this book a while back when we originally read the series, like the first three, and I started preparing for the next load. But I forgot exactly how they did the mystery element to this story, because obviously there is going to be some mystery, but the mystery would be very much spoiled by the fact that every character that Toby Longworth voices is kind of unique. Has the unique accents. You can usually tell who they are simply from their voice.
Well, we can get to that when we get to that scene. How about that?
Yeah. So, but worth noting from this scene is that this is a good example. This is the first time we hear Ku's voice without an accent.
Oh,
the only other example,
because he had a okay. Oh right. So in this exercise, we have this whole thing where Ku just actually stabs Bragg during a training exercise.
Yes. But also in the training exercise, during the training exercise, he says a line without his usual very distinctive accent that Toby Longworth gives him.
Is it clear who it is, or is it like he says it before?
It's unclear.
Okay, so it's sort of like he's Bragg's because it's not actually is it initially sold as a training exercise? Or is it like it tells you after like a page? I can't remember.
I think after they get absolutely fucked, the lights come on, and then and then they stand around and discuss how shit that the one side was in this battle.
Right.
This fight.
So fighting against mystery enemies, Bragg gets stabbed, and then after it's like, oh, it was Ku. Oh, he shouldn't be getting stabbed. It's a training exercise. Does that feel about right?
And we don't know. Yeah, and we don't know it was him originally. I think because he doesn't get given his distinctive accent.
Interesting.
It's important. It's very important.
I don't know what you mean. Okay, so we have ammo problems as well, don't they? So what we want? Yeah, we want to see in a book some riveting logistical issues.
Well, that's the thing is also different from other guard books where they basically assume that they always have ammunition, they always have everything. They just go out and kill the bad guys. The thing about Abnett's books is they feel a hell of a lot more grounded most Imperial Guard novels, because there is considerations about food and fuel and munitions. And this is going to come into play in the later story.
Yeah, I mean,
We'll
it
get
kind of
to
feels
it.
like Abner puts in the effort to talk about how shit the Minotaurium is and discuss every other aspect of the Imperium alongside the stuff that he's focusing on, which is obviously going to be the Imperial Guard. I mean, there's an amazing
'Cause-
conversation where is it Ron? Is it Ron who's having that conversation with the fucking Minotaurium guy who's given them all the wrong type of power cell?
I don't remember, but he's not happy, and the Minotaurium guy doesn't seem to like realize. He doesn't seem to take it as seriously as the ghosts do.
Well,
it's like, this sucks,
right?
Yes.
They asked for ammo. He gave them type 5 or whatever it was, and it's not his fault that they can only use type 3. If they don't have ammo for the mission, well, it's not his fault. He gave them the type of ammo he was told to. It's like, what the fuck? What the fuck, man?
Imperial bureaucracy in action.
A lesson on requirements gathering.
We see a bit about Hawk being another good fucking commissar here again as well. He's developing into a good character.
Oh yeah, because Hark is now with the ghosts.
Yes, and he's almost like a counselor as well. So he doesn't seem to just play the role of a commissar. I don't know what
that kind of
like
is part of the role of a commissar, though. They're supposed to be like the spiritual backbone of the Legion. They're kind of like a sort of.
Isn't that? I thought that was the.
Oh yeah, they are actually.
The
they're
other
basically.
character.
They're both
They've got
discipline
them, yeah.
officer and chaplain. Like they're supposed to be indoctrinated into Imperial cult.
Chaplain is what I was trying to think of.
In very old stories, which might sound weird because we're looking at stories from the start of Black Library, but you've got like anthologies and stuff that are pre-Black Library. In very old short stories, the commissars are like religious zealots as well, which you don't really get out of any story we've read so far.
Also, I don't think it was Ron who talked to the Minotaurium guy, because if it was Ron, he probably would have just shot the guy. So it must have been someone else.
You know what? I have to say, isn't the whole point of lasguns? Isn't the whole point of a lot of things the Imperium does? We have one we have like the bulk produced gun that we can give to everyone, and it'll work anywhere with the same ammo anywhere. So this is a bit of
a lot of sense.
It doesn't really feel very in line with 40k for there to be this this ammo problem
fucking ammo
for the
lasguns. Yeah, it does seem counterproductive to, as you said, develop a gun that it feels like the whole purpose of it is that it can be standardized.
The Imperium
and then it has
is
like
so colossal that no matter how hard they try, they'll never be able to standardize everything.
Well, maybe. I guess this is important because Abnett is now setting them up so that they're going to have to be extra elite and be very careful with how many shots they take in the next mission, because they're going into a mission now with significantly less ammo than they probably should.
This is a fairly fast forward start, isn't it? We have a training sequence, and then we're told, here's Hark, he's with the ghosts. Here's what you're going to be doing. We're fighting against Urlok Gore's elite guys who have these weird, horrible alien mercenaries. Also, here's this ammo issue. Good luck. Right?
Yeah.
This is the first time I think where the Blood Pact takes center stage, if I recall correctly.
I think they've been
mentioned, but this time they're actually fighting against them.
That's true, because I feel like other books like generally talk about the Chaos guys as being kind of Blood Pact or like the Blood Pact of, don't they? Or because but they talk about it very
before.
Is the phrase not used? I feel like maybe I'm just remembering wrong, but I feel like it's been used as like a general description. But here it's just like, by the way, Blood Pact of these elite soldiers.
Yeah, they could have been mentioned, but I didn't really they weren't front of my mind until this book.
Yeah, I think that they're framed as this elite, relatively elite warrior corps. We didn't really see in the last one. We had we had Patersons and Fardy, who are like his own jacked, obscene religious tattoos guys. But here it's like actual elite force, and we've also got the Loxatl.
They get given a name. So is this a proprietary name that turns up a lot in like the actual game as well, or is this just?
No, I don't think they've never had like official rules, although plenty of people have made armies based around.
I bet there's rules in a White Dwarf somewhere, and I'm pretty sure there's rules for them in some
rules on like the US Games Workshop site back in like 2005.
Yeah, there we go.
How to make them using like the doctrines that the 3.5 Guard Codex had.
Wait, the Blood Pact or the Loxatl?
The Blood Pact.
Okay.
Loxatl have never had any kind of rule whatsoever, I know.
Okay. I'm also pretty sure Loxatl have rules they'll have a mention in the Fantasy Flight role-playing games as an enemy thing there.
But not on the tabletop.
Nope.
Okay, so
I've actually got a note here about the Loxatl, because it mentions Loxatl twice early on in quick succession. First, it mentions them in that general history blurb. It just includes and other mercenaries such as the Vile Loxatl or something like that. And here, for some reason, they mentioned, well, at least there's not going to be any Loxatl up ahead. So at this point, as a relatively media-savvy reader, I'm like, okay.
Chekhov's gun.
Chekhov's evil salamander aliens.
Shall we explain the entire conceit of this particular campaign?
I was going to describe the operation first. Hang
on. Of that overarching campaign, let's do that. Go on,
Drippers. Yeah, if you want to describe where it comes in.
This is a planet of Fantine. It is a major logistics hub for Promethean, which is both the fuel for practically every single tank and the munitions for their flamers. So this is the equivalent of some big Middle Eastern oil-rich country like Iraq. If you control it, you control something critical for any kind of combat operation. Now, Fantine itself is a toxic planet with giant dome cities, so it's a hazardous
Cloud
environment.
City.
Yeah,
I mean that's kind of is it? If I remember right, it's we've mined the shit out of it so much that it's become a hellhole. We've turned it into this hellhole by right. I got that vibe.
What I do recall is because Cloud City, it's floating. This one, these just dome cities on the ground.
Are they under? But they're they're not on the ground.
No, they're in the sky.
They're on spires.
Like
yeah, they're not floating, but they're on spires.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought Cloud City, isn't it they're floating, but they are tethered. So I mean, it's not that dissimilar. But
Cloud City
sure.
actually floats around because Bespin's a gas giant. It floats around the gas giant's atmosphere.
Whereas this is actually, there is ground down there underneath all those clouds, which are toxic, do not breathe.
Yeah. So let me describe the operation then. So in the beginning, in the training exercise, we see them propelling down into an area and trying to then fight the enemy in the dark, basically. This is where a lot of chaos happens and Bragg gets mysteriously stabbed instead of attacked by a paint stick, which is what's supposed to be the case.
Oopsie.
Whoopsie daisy. Whoops, Ku must have picked up his knife instead. How did this happen? Anyway, so it kind of gives us a taste of what the operation is then going to be. So the actual plan, they're going to do a precise incision into one of the important domes, as Jim has described them, and they're going to try and take control and take out the enemies there. So first stage, they're going to send in the I can't remember what they're called. They're like a fighter wing, aren't they? They're like a specific regiment or a squadron or whatever it is, and they've got their own. They've got all got American accents, like very American accents in the in the audiobook.
Well, there's 3 different regiments here, isn't there? So one of them is the Ghosts. Another one is the Udeshi. So we mentioned them before in the last episode, I think. Udesh is a planet that changes hands between the Imperium and Chaos a lot, and is a Forge world. So they naturally have their own regiment, who are led by I think he's described as, I can't remember exactly who's described. I've got it in my notes. I don't know if this is verbatim or not, but an ill-tempered brute, Colonel Zeit. And then you have the Fantine, who are a small regiment, who are we want to take our home back. But also, because they're from this planet, you kind of expect, they're kind of going to be good at this sort of thing.
Maybe on top of these guys, though, we also have the air wing, the fight pilots. These are the ones I'm talking about. They have their own sort of I guess they're the first sort of other than the armored corps, which we see earlier, the Imperial Guard. I don't know whether these guys would count as Imperial Guard. Would they be more part of the Imperial Navy because
it might be
provide air support, or are they sort of the air wing of the Imperial Guard?
Which I think are different from both the Guard and the Navy.
The Aeronautica is technically part of the Navy. For a regiment to be raised from the Guard and equipped as Aeronautica is extremely unusual.
Okay, and that's what we'd be dealing with this fighter wing then, I guess.
this fighter wing, they're not raised for the Imperial Navy, they're raised from the Guard.
Oh, okay.
Equipped akin to an Imperial Navy. We'll get a lot more of that. They are so popular, they have their entire own spin-off.
Yeah, I mean they were
There's
interesting.
an entire novel about them called Double Eagle, which is basically Dan Abnett writes a Battle of Britain story. We shall eventually.
Okay, fair enough.
Double
I mean, they
Eagle
were
and Titanic
they were
I don't think
definitely.
the Gaunt's Ghost series is so popular. It's got its own colossal series of spin-offs. It's a universe unto itself.
Yeah,
They were definitely given their own character. They stood out amongst a lot of other Imperial Guard regiments as their own kind of thing, very much so. So I mean, I can understand that.
It's worth noting as well.
The thing is that after the Horus Heresy, the Guard and the Navy were split off from each other because before then, like they were one the same, which meant that when regiments joined with Horus, they brought their warships with them, which also allowed them to like operate independently. And so once the heresy was over as part of the Reformations, the Navy and the Guard were split from each other, so they had to rely on each other to do anything. Which
that makes
is
sense.
part of the reason why air support is so rare in 40k, because it's a bit like the fact that the Imperial Japanese Army and the Imperial Japanese Navy fucking hate each other's guts, and were constantly competing with one another, and basically they only begrudgingly helped each other, and the Imperial Guards are like that. Guards to the Navy, they have to beg the Navy to help them, and the Navy don't give a shit if the ground pounders get killed.
Okay. I'm still not accepting that as a reason why they don't ever use the artillery from the spaceships.
Yeah, it must be that a well thought out reason.
Yeah, the Imperial Navy guys don't give a fuck. That's why they just don't give a fuck.
We'll just roll with that on going forward.
No fucking way. Anyway, so to carry on with the operation, they send in the flight wings first to sort of scout out, make sure there's no enemies, because they're about to send in transports full of troops that are going to be very, very vulnerable on the way in.
Not just any transports; they're dropping from dirigibles.
Wait, are you saying that they were fucking blimps going along?
Yes.
Here? I don't remember that.
Yes.
Jesus Christ. Okay, that makes this just like so much more ridiculous than I envisioned. But okay. Anyway, they're carrying a fuck ton of people. I was about to ask, like, what type of transport is this? Because supposedly it has
There's your answer.
5 fucking platoons on it or whatever. What's going on here?
Big old blimp.
Anyway, it still seems kind of crazy that with only 5 of them, they carry what is effectively like 2 entire regiments or something. It's a bit extreme.
That scene in the before they are dropping out where they're getting the shots. I've got a note. We have some more Abnett Horny posting here.
Okay.
Abnett Horny posting. This is just going to be a thing.
It's the Abnett Horny posting hour again.
You know, Abnett Horny. I read you. This is going to be a thing. I'm like, oh lord, when we get to the fucking Rev in the books, the Abnett Horny.
That might wear me down.
It will. But
the quote I've got here is: Gaunt liked Kurth, and not because she was one of the most attractive things in the regiment.
He drops in a lot of lines like that,
yes.
Especially between like Ron and is it Batha or like? There's a lot of
wasn't it?
Banda.
Wasn't it Nessa?
No, it's Banda.
Banda, that's the one. Banda, yeah, that's it. There's a lot of lines like that.
Nessa is the one that Larkin is Sundir for. I might be pronouncing that wrong. I don't watch anime.
Sundere, but like. I don't think, as I found in the next book, I don't think anyone is more Sundere than Ron when it comes to Banda. So,
okay,
we don't need to go there.
I'm now going to make, when we get to talking about that, I'm totally just going to make a whole bunch of Sundere jokes, and poor Nihil will not understand one of them.
Probably not.
I probably won't understand them either, to be honest. we can see when we get there.
Level up your weebness.
No.
No, I think it's okay. I think it's okay where it's at. So it is. So the mission, as I said, they're taking the transports. They've got very, very light cover and an escort, because it's not going to matter if the enemy realizes they're there. They're going to get absolutely lit up, and that would make a lot more sense with them being dirigibles. Because the dirigible is not going to do much emergency evasion when it comes to anti-air.
So it's interesting, a term they use for it is drogue. which is not technically a term for airship. It's a term for a device used to slow down boats in storms.
That's maybe why I didn't catch that it was a dirigible.
I have the word dirigible written down. I'm sure they call them that at some point.
Oh, maybe it happened very briefly, and I didn't even consider that they would be flying fucking zeppelins around.
Yeah, it uses both terms.
Drogue because it was used in the Hornblower series and in Moby Dick.
Huh. Well, okay.
Okay. Anyway, so the operation begins, and it starts off relatively calmly, as you'd imagine a Zeppelin run would, because it's not exactly quick. So they slowly make their way over to the domes. And then all fucking hell breaks loose.
Oh, you know what? I've got a note here. Before we go into the operation, I think there's two other things worth noting that it sort of does to sort of round out the end of the last story, which fell off a cliff. Okay. One of them is Ayatani Zwayo's back. He's still with them.
The priest? Yeah, he's still there.
And we're also told that Lugo got a demotion.
Ludo, sorry, yeah.
Lugo from the general.
Ludo's
from the
last
general.
One. Yeah.
Lugo, can't remember.
Ludo is a children's board game.
That is true. It could also be the general's name, though.
I'm quite sure it's Lugo.
You said it's Lugo, okay.
Whenever I think as Lyle now, I just think of Father Gregory from Father
Ted. No.
Half-Life 2.
I think of more of a wild-haired spiritualist guy, like a sort of
I want it to be like Doc Brown, but with less but skinnier.
I imagine him being skinny, wild-haired, and full of energy.
Yeah, okay.
Waving some sort of staff around at people, maybe. Did he say they were Did he say they had an Indian accent or something in the last book?
No, he doesn't. I don't think. I don't know. I can't remember his accent. I'd have to.
What's even the point of having you listen to these audiobooks if you're not going to remember their accents?
Look, I'm not.
Toby Longworth puts all his effort into.
Well, I just know that they're different from each other, and I can tell who it is usually when I hear it. But I'm not very good with accents anyway, so I'm not going to go through every fucking accent and try to put it where it is from, because it's not going to end well.
All right. So everything goes to hell, you were saying?
Yep, everything goes to hell. So they arrive. They get spotted on the way in. So
the enemy aircraft attack. The one thing they didn't want to happen
is for the enemy to know they're coming and be not landing yet. So one of the airships gets immediately fucked, I think, which is that's kind of a huge fucking deal because there's only 5 airships carrying. Well, is it 2 entire regiments? I don't know if they sent the entire regiment out, but there's a lot of fucking people on each one of these airships, and one of them just gets immediately fucked. Fortunately, no one we know, so there's that.
We get that awful description of the pilot and the whole wind waste thing. So
yes, so I mean, if you lose power in your ship while you were
basically a parachute is a parachute is basically no fucking good here, because it's I'll slowly drift into the toxic gas that'll fucking kill me, right?
Yeah. So they have something else instead.
They have balloons,
yeah, exactly.
So that when they bail out, they just sort of hover there. But then obviously because they're not going to go towards the ground, they'll just hover forever unless somebody picks them up. And he's sitting here no, do I do a beacon to call for help? No, because it'll ruin the surprise. But wait a second, we already got shot down. So you already know. It'll serve as a warning, so I'll do it. And then he tries, and it's oh no, the shrapnel has fucked it. Wind waste it is.
There's a lot of really... Abnett doesn't need to have that conversation there, but it's a really interesting conversation because it shows us the thought process behind the mission, behind the purpose of them going in stealthily, and kind of as you said, the horrifying aspect of it just being basically trapped, floating on the surface of this toxic cloud planet for forever until you basically die from exposure / dehydration, I guess. It's
well done, cutting back and forth between this guy who's going to die of wind waste and the troops making ready.
Yes. Well, yeah. So anyway, they eventually get to the domes. They do arrive. I think 4 at this point. 4 out of 5 of the transports are there. And then there's the absolute chaos of them trying to land on the top of these fucking domes while under fire, while they're floating. Obviously, they're floating Zeppelin things, so they don't have the most precise control. So there's like one scene where one of them is like drifting too far and they're trying to land, and then the pilot is shouting at Ron, "Get out the fucking plane! You need to drop now!" And Ron's like, "There is no fucking platform. What are you saying?" I was like, "I'm not dropping yet," and the guy's like calling him a coward. He's like, "Shut the fuck up! There's literally no platform to drop on. What do you want me to do?" Yeah, it's absolute fucking madness. At one point, we've got Milo and a bunch of a few of our other characters. They drop onto a platform, and
Domor,
one of them has a heavy bag.
Domor, Milo, and Bonin, I think, are
is
there.
The guy with the flamethrower?
That's
someone has
Broston's that. It's Domor who's got like the augmetic eyes, and Milo and Bonin. Bonin's the scout who a lot of stuff revolves around him in this one. I think we've already had, when we had Zwei show up earlier, he was like, "Gaunt, you need to trust Bonin," for some reason. I don't know why. It's just very
Abner just can't fucking help himself. He has to throw in these weird like prophetic bullshit into every fucking story.
"Gaunt, I've decided Bonin is important as your regiment priest guy. Trust him." Like, okay. And there's this whole thing about Bonin's lucky star and all that. So when we see this drop shit and it's all fucked for Domor, Milo, and Bonin, it's like, oh no, they're gonna die. No, Bonin's not going to die. I'm not worried about that now. After we've just had all this weird stuff so far. No, also Milo. They're not going to just fucking kill off Milo and Bonin after setting him up.
Die like that. No chance. Anyway, one of them has a heavy bag, and there's this, I guess, dramatic moment where they land badly and he starts sliding slowly towards the edge of this gigantic fucking dome that has no handholds on it. And will just drop you into the toxic fucking wasteland below. Anyway, and Milo, for some reason, decides, well, I guess I can help him if I throw myself after him, and so dives after him. At this point, we know that he has to be saved, because Milo is now basically tied to him fate-wise. And the legend that is Vladimir just abseils down on a fucking... free abseils down on a rope with it just literally around his waist. And not only saves them, but then also realizes that there's two of the female Vagastites also hanging onto a railing or something below the lip of the dome. So he just abseils off the basically free falls off the side of the fucking dome to go save them. Fucking legendary rock climber right there.
Yeah, love this guy.
We do later find out that he used to do maintenance on the like radio dishes or something on the top of the hab, which I imagine would
He's
pretty
like, yeah, I used to work on the reefs. I know what I'm about. I think they also find a pilot who got stranded up there, and they're like, oh damn, what are we gonna do now? And I think Bonin is like, well, guess what? You know how we were supposed to be going in without any more info than necessary? Gaunt said, fuck that, and gave us all maps to the scouts. So, let's go, gang. Yes.
So here we see the first kind of push that Gaunt, and this actually is relevant in the next book as well. But Gaunt has a thing about providing as much information to the relevant people as possible. Something that a lot of military seem to do in the Imperium, and probably some bad ones do in real life as well, is massive limitation on dissemination of large picture strategy. Whereas in this case, Gaunt is in the position.
Well, in this case, large picture. They don't even want the scouts to have a fucking map. Like, how are you going to be a scout with no map?
I don't. Abner does seem to focus a lot on the map side of things. I'm not sure why that is. Yeah, I'm not sure why they would decide that having a map is bad, because surely they're going to be there in the fucking hab. A map is not necessarily intel. Not intel that could be used against them, at least. Like, the people who are already in the base know what
just
the
don't
base
put
looks like
a big circle on the thing you're trying to get on your map, and you're fine.
Yeah, exactly. Just say, this is the
red circle. Attack here.
Where we're going. All forces converge on this point. Yeah. That's probably the only sort of intel that you could put on a map that would be, severely damaging in the hands of an enemy, I guess. Yeah, in that regard.
stealth teams inserting here.
Yeah, well, as it turns out, they already knew they were there anyway, so this all turns quickly into fucking madness. It's kind of sad that so many of them didn't even get to the fucking landing zone after all of their training. Probably one of the most frustrating ways to go is being trapped in the hold of a transport ship, not even able to actually fight, which is kind of lame. But
we have we're also told the Odeshi assault is a complete disaster. They basically are thrown into a meat grinder and just brute force it with pure numbers.
Yeah, so when you say the Odeshi, are you talking about with the crazy captain, the crazy
Colonel
commander
Zeiss.
who like screams,
Is it Colonel
who
Zeiss?
shouts at at Gaunt over the radio?
Yeah, them. But they kind of initially they start to turn the tide against all odds just by brute forcing it.
Yes, so there's something is coming up shortly with the shields, which will be relevant for them. There's a scene here which is worth mentioning because Collier does something really fucking suicidal.
Well, yeah, there's Val and Kalia who are like competing and feel maybe a little inadequate because they were rear guard and weren't there at the top of whatever the fuck it's called on Hagia. They had to like sit there and watch this massive army that they couldn't fight roll past.
Well, no, Collier's the guy with the kids being looked after by.
Yes.
Yeah. So anyway,
so him and Val are just like going full sending it. Really.
This is not sort of portrayed as part of their conversation, as part of their competition. Sorry, this is kind of. I think he's talking with Kolbeck, and then they're basically trying to discuss how to get further up, and there's gunfire like raining on them from all different directions, and then Collier says we need to get to that point, and then he just charges out of cover through all of the gunfire, like straight at the location. And even Kolbeck is like notes this as like, what the fuck? That was insane, dude. Why did you do that?
I think it was Val who's like, what the hell's going on?
Was it Val?
Yeah.
Someone who they were with.
There's a big thing there about like in combat that competition came out between them. But yeah.
I don't think that was
even
a competition.
But Val is just like, what the hell, man?
Yeah, I think at the time, sort of Val maybe thought it was that, but like it comes up again and again and again later on, and I don't think there was something more to it than that. Than the competition, at least.
Oh yeah, sure. But it's like framing it as that, and then suddenly he's like doing all this shit.
Yes, and because we're cutting around like constantly to all of the different perspectives, like this part in the audiobook would be completely like impossible to understand if it wasn't for the fact that everyone has a different accent. And there are so many different accents in this section. It is ridiculous.
Yeah.
He's constantly swapping. I don't know how the fuck he record something like this.
I think with Rawn, his team had been like, everybody give me your explosives. We're going to clear a fucking landing spot for us, right? There'd been some shit going on with that.
Don't they like land on like the top of another dirigible or something? I don't know what the fuck was happening at this point.
I remember there being something where they just like, there's no way we're dropping in that. Everybody give me your bombs. And they just drop like one big explosive package and go, now we're dropping.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. I know what you're saying. Yeah. No. Oh, that was what it was. So not only were they like, they're like on the edge of the platform, so there was like barely anywhere to drop with Ron, but also there was just like machine gun fire.
Yeah.
Fucking everywhere, and there was literally just an empty platform or something. So Rome was just like, that would be fucking stupid. We'd basically just immediately die. There's no point in dropping there. Yeah, that's reasonable. I guess it's interesting because you could imagine a lot of commanders there in the Imperial Guard probably would have just dropped anyway, and it would have been just a suicide mission for no reason at all. But you sort of see Ron's kind of stubbornness actually playing to the significant advantage there.
He's no idiot.
No,
none of the ghosts are really.
So they now that they've fallen into an ambush, they get double ambushed.
Well, not yet, because the first very soon, because like Zeit's side have been like, this is weird. All those blood pact have disappeared, and then most of the ghosts are also like, this is weird. All those blood pact have disappeared, except for Kalia and Val, who are just way deep in the thick of it. Until Rawn's team finds a bunch of people like, what are these guys doing carrying void shield parts around?
They find something that gives the shield game away, don't they? Yeah.
And this was a sample chapter I remember from the old White Dwarf I was reading. It was them finding about the voids.
Oh, okay.
Get Gaunt on the line. Yeah.
It was, I'll go tell Gaunt. That's pretty sure it's literally the line. It's rent-free in my head.
So Gaunt finds out about the shields, right?
Yes.
And there's this ridiculous fucking scene, which is both good and bad in my opinion because of how stupid it is. But he contacts the commander of the
Udeshi guy.
Udeshi. I'm so bad with names.
Yeah.
They're going to be different every time I fucking mention
Colonel Zeit, I think.
But to start with, the guy tries to ignore him until like Gaunt is so insistent. The guy's radio operator is just like, look, he won't go off the line, and and then he basically just screams and rants at Gaunt for what seems like way too fucking long in the middle of a firefight about how Gaunt's regiment is brand new and the Udeshi, whatever it is, have lived for like fucking. They've been a regiment for like so long that their name is engraved on the halls of terror or some bullshit, and then just hangs up on him, right? And then they all die.
Yes.
to the ambush with the shield.
This is something
I want to bring up is the way this ambush works. The shield's not meant to like protect the city or keep them out. The idea is that it will cut off the Imperial Guard forces, so they'll be trapped between a shield and blood-packed forces in the city, and then just chopped to pieces with nowhere to run.
Basically trapped on.
And ideally, I guess it comes up.
They want the force field to be like basically in the middle of the forces, so that they are, and then trapping them against the force fields from both sides. Right, I think that's the rough idea. There's also also not just cutting the forces in two, cutting some people in two.
Well, I wanted to ask about that.
Yes, I was about to talk about that because void shields normally are like small things can get through. They're almost like a. I've even normally they're like a large. Right? Yeah, they're normally I think like a large scale version of what the hell is it called? The sort of like the shields in Dune, where it's like something small or low mass can get through.
Big things can move
through,
but
high energy things, well, rather than just being stopped, they get shunted into the warp or something. Is the way a void shield I think is supposed to work.
Wait, they get pushed into the warp?
I think, isn't it something like that?
What? That's far more crazy than I thought. I thought they were just straight up just like energy shields.
Am I being a dumbass here? Am I getting confused with something else, Jimbus?
That would be a really funny shield mechanic, and I like the sound of that.
Oh, I trust you to back me up on larger scale lore things that Ovrim has no idea about.
I like the idea that nobody actually knows that they get pushed into the warp, and so they just assume that everything that hits them just disappears.
Missiles and projectiles by placing them in another dimension.
Yes. Okay, I'm not crazy. Great.
I love the idea that they don't know that though, and like everything that hits the void shield just disappears, and they're just like, "Wow, clearly the void shield is just destroying it, right?" And then somewhere in Klon's dimension, there is just a fucking cupboard full of like missiles and bullets and all sorts of shit that just turned up for no reason at all.
The other thing I want to note here is this is the second time Abnett has been like, "Yeah, a void shield. That's a good like force field to stop a person going in or out." Because he also did this in one of the Eisenhorn books, you may remember.
Maybe.
When they had to go finding the psychers in the city?
Oh, yes. Yeah, and it basically stops everything, doesn't it?
Yes. So this is the second time we've seen Void Shield as a stand-in for just a generic force, like sci-fi force field that Abnett is using them. Yeah. Which is not really how Void Shields work in the canon. But hey, okay.
At this point, I've seen it do that more often than I've not seen it do that. So I kind of just, at this point, I have to assume that that's how they work. But at the same time, it doesn't really mesh with the way I know that they're used on things like Titans and stuff like that. So
yeah, I was going to say, because normally this as a force fields as a lore thing are more of a tabletop mechanic than a narrative mechanic. Unless you're
hit points,
yeah,
kind of thing, right?
Unless you're in a I mean, more in terms of like you don't normally see things looking at how void shields work, except for in like the lore about a unit, you know.
Okay. Yeah.
But
I mean, in the tabletop, a void shield is just an extra armor.
It's an invulnerable
thing you penetrate before you can.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's just an invulnerable save normally.
It used to be a armor value 12 additional ablative armor that you had to penetrate before you can actually damage the machine itself. I'm so out of it in terms of rules.
I think the only time you really see them coming up in the other, like in the sense that they normally do show up on a tabletop game, and in tabletop unit lore is where you'd expect when you see things about Titan combat. And I guess also naval combat when ships are shooting each other. But yeah, here just a generic force field is a void shield is just a force field here. Yeah.
Isn't there another mention in the Eisenhorn books of some of the like they're trying to get on a ship or something, and they don't want to fly the plane, they're in like a small plane or something, and they're saying, we can't fly it into the ship hangar or whatever it is because we'll just pancake on the force field or something like that. Or is that maybe from one of the Last Chances books?
I don't remember this. Yeah, I'm
sure that has come up in a recent one of the 40k books we read. Anyway, so void shenanigans aside, I wanted to mention it's kind of weird because it's portrayed as Gaunt was right. He should have told this guy about the void shields. The guy wouldn't listen, and that's why he died. But that's not actually why he died, right? They already get ambushed before the void shields, like way before the void shields are turned on. The blood pack turn up, start absolutely obliterating the crazy commander and his forces. So if anything, the conversation he had with Gaunt probably distracted him long enough that the ambush was even more successful.
Like, that's something, isn't it? Because the ambush is sort of pushing them into exactly the right spots they want them to be in for the void shields, right?
Maybe, but like the way it's described, like him and most of his forces are fucking dead, like almost immediately when the ambush like starts, because every fucking description is someone getting like murdered, their head exploding, or fucking las rounds like pitting them to the walls and stuff. They're pretty fucked immediately by the ambush, and then the void shield just like puts the final touch on it. So it's a weird setup. I thought the scene was kind of funny, but also kind of weird. It's I don't know. And it's just another example, I guess, of a fucking platoon commander being kind of out of touch and crazy, as we've seen a lot of in the 40k books. So not platoon, regiment commander.
We have I think the Odeshi stuff is just handled with that real quickly, while we then suddenly swap to all the other people getting on with like their own intense battles, right? So we have Korbeck and whatever that girl he's got his eyes on was called. What's her name again? What's Korbeck's girl?
Oh, the girl he says he's probably been father zoned by.
Yes, yeah, that's the one.
He saves her from something in this book, and then he talks about how he's pretty sure he recognizes that look in her eye, and it's the look of him being her father.
Yes.
Which And there's MacVenna doing his fucking legendary style of the Wood Warrior.
He almost
bullshit.
single-handedly kills every Bloodpack troop who enters the doorway. And there's like a mention about the legends of the Nal'Shim
with a fucking stick.
Yes. That like happens this right after we get to see a lot. It's like a lot of like cinematic little scenes, like the sniper blasting the power box and blowing up a heavy weapon. We have a flamer coming out and doing some work before exploding to gunfire, and then MacVenna comes in and holds the choke point in all this chaos.
Abnett writes movies, that's what I'm saying. It's like he's writing his books so that they could be transferred into a movie very, very, very.
He writes movies, but like I don't know, that just has really bad connotations in my head because I've seen the Ultramarines.
No, I don't mean he literally writes movies.
He did literally write the Ultramarines movie.
Are written like. Oh no! And I don't even know what that is. So.
I would call it the worst creative output Dan Abnett has his name to.
Okay, fair enough.
It is not held in high regard.
There's an Ultramarine movie. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
and there's a reason you haven't heard of it.
It's a thing that exists, apparently.
Oh no!
Well, this way, I wonder if it's lost media. I wonder if you can even get it anymore.
Oh yes, you can get it.
Yeah, Games Workshop haven't.
Oh wait, like deep enough. By what definition do you mean? Do you mean can you still stream it or purchase it?
Legal way?
Legitimately?
You'd have to borrow it from somebody else who obtained it legally a while ago.
So no.
Or eBay.
Yeah. Or eBay. Well, anyway. And there's a bunch of interesting scenes, as you said, that are all very cinematic. And then MacVenna with his fucking way of the Wood Warrior. And this scene is described, that bit is described so bizarrely. It kind of feels like it comes out of nowhere, but it just makes MacVenna even more of a fucking like superhuman kind of ninja.
we have, and while all this is happening, we've got all the stuff with Bonin and Milo and Vadim. Vadim is sort of like Vamps in the last book, where he's just like this nobody guy we've never heard of before who's suddenly gonna be a central character to the story because he was a roofer. That's what it was. He wasn't like a guy working on Emerald, he was a roofer.
Yeah, I
which
guess
means
it is kind of interesting.
He knows
though,
all
because
this
it means
stuff
like,
about like heat vents and outflows, which is really important in this setting, in this particular battle sphere.
especially since they're attacking from the roof.
Yes.
Yeah. I it's kind of interesting though. I like that aspect because I guess you would have a lot of characters that would have random experience that would maybe stand out without being, a particularly important part of the regiment beforehand. They're just suddenly in a situation which is absolutely perfect for their knowledge set and experience. And suddenly he's a standout character. So the point where we actually know him and we have his name given to us.
Which is always really good
Hopefully
or
Abner
really
doesn't
bad for a
continue his trend.
character.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully Abner isn't going to continue the trend of murdering anyone he gives
Rip.
a name to.
Rip baffles.
Poor baffles.
And
There's a scene where they use, I think it's Colbeck who's talking to Gaunt, and they have to use like a makeshift code where he gives him like the opposite information and then says something like, he indicates something at the end of the sentence, or that's like to reverse.
that seems
the
dangerous.
message.
It seems like it should be at the start of a sentence.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. Like, if he'd acted immediately, Gaunt might have fucked everything up.
Or if he'd like
But
gotten
he
shot
doesn't.
halfway through his message.
Well, it's also really risky because the code is also only makeshift. So if Gaunt somehow misses the message and does the opposite of what they want to do, he's also going to fucking murder everyone, or everything is going to be fucked at least. But it is kind of interesting because it's kind of, they're right in the sense that they are using an unencrypted system, which means that almost certainly someone you'd expect would be listening, especially someone as competent as the Blood Pact, at least, is shown to be here. They're probably listening in on the comms.
So, let me think. What else is going on? Val and Kalia were like way in deep past all the rest of us, to the point that they were still fighting when the ambush stuff was going on with everybody else.
Colia.
Sorry. Val and Kolia were in the thick of it even while everybody else was sitting there like, what's going on, right before the ambush. I think we have some drama of Ku, where they're like, Ku, are you looting those defaced coins?
I don't think that's yet. That's not yet.
Oh, I've got a note of that here. I've got it right after
That was later on, wasn't it?
Well, no, they spot him looting the coins here, which may or
with
may not come up
Bragg
later on. Yeah, and Bragg and Larkin are like, what the fuck are you doing? And he like threatens to stab Bragg again.
I thought that scene was a bit later on, but yeah, you're right. I mean, Bragg and Larkin at some point, who's looting Imperial coins, but they're all like got like weird symbols like slashed into the surface, which is obviously irrelevant. Let's remember that.
They are no longer legal tender. I don't know why you'd want. Oh, look, coins that have been like defaced with chaos markings. I'm sure this will be handy for me later. Like, I don't know. I'd probably not touch that.
I assume Ku thinks he can just pawn them as like, they're still. I don't know. What are they made of? What are Imperial coins made out of? Do you melt them down to get something worthwhile?
The Kunt doesn't give a shit about any of the superstitious nonsense. All he cares about is the here and now and what's good for him.
Yeah, but is it like, can he do something with those coins? Could he melt them down to make something useful, or could he trade them in? I guess
it doesn't matter. He's got to be doing something bad with something that is identifiable. So.
Okay, that's fair enough.
So we don't think about it, I guess. We have Bonin as well.
The prophecy shit turns up again with Bonin.
Yes. Well, you say it turns up again. You mean it immediately pays off in the first fight of the book, where Gaunt's like, wait, he told me to trust Bonin.
I realize it makes it even less it makes it even less like fucking important, and yet Abnett still had to throw the fucking
Chapter 1, Gaunt, I'm your priest, you have to trust Bonin. Chapter 2, Bonin's like, I'm at the mill. Gaunt's like, oh, I have to trust Bonin.
So the only thing... Right, do you remember I mentioned last book where it feels like at some point Abnett went through the story, it doesn't really make sense for Gaunt to put all of his fucking chips in on this one thing unless there's a reason for him to do it.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about this with like...
And here's our reason for him to do it. Like, this time it's just like
Abnett went
an hour goes why I said something about it.
Yeah, it feels like Abner went back to his pod again, and he was like, "But why did Gaunt
I don't know.
all
I
in
think,
on Bon in here?"
I
And
think-
then decided to stick a fucking prophecy in again.
to be fair, I don't think this was just that, because I think there's like a whole theme about Bonin and his lucky star. I think at some point it mentions that he'd been like assumed to be dead and then they'd found him again, and I read that and I was like, did Gaunt accidentally kill Bonin in like the third book or something? Or no, not Gaunt. Did Abner kill off Bonin and then like be like, ooh, continuity correction? I don't know.
I don't remember. Wait.
I mean,
Bonin-
Abner does
Bonin
that.
the one
He
who-
realizes he made a fuck up and then he has to fix it, and he can often get very creative with that.
Is Bonin the one that's supposedly? It's not Bonin, is it? Who supposedly has like ancestry that has like had like weird like warp powers or something?
I don't think so. I don't know. Maybe.
Okay. Well, we'll shelve that for later.
Yeah. Okay. So Gaunt's like,
There's a fucking amazing scene where they spend literally what feels like 10 minutes trying to turn off.
yes. Well, hang on. Just before that,
find out that the shields are gone.
the risky payoff here, the thing that they like present to us as Gaunt needs to trust Bonin is, if Bonin says this, they're going to get the shields down. So I will tell everybody to get ready for the shields breaking, and they can get in like a risky deployment or something. I'm not really sure how that works. That they'll have a risky deployment that'll pay off when the shields come down. But that is the scenario presented to us.
I guess that if they know the shield is about to come down, but the blood pack doesn't, I guess they can deploy in a way that gives them like an advantage the second that it does come down.
Yes.
Maybe something like that.
Something
But
like that.
They realize that the power source for the shield has to be massive, so they think it's tied into the actual city power grid, and then they find out that it's actually tied into like the smelter or something.
It's the power
like,
mill
I don't know.
or something. It's the mill.
Oh, the power. It's some industrial building with like massive power source. It's the power mill.
The vapor mills. The vapor mills. That's what it is.
The vapor mill. Okay, that makes sense. It's a lot of energy, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's tied into that, and they're trying to shut it off. And they spend what feels like 10 minutes arguing about the best way to shut it off, like whether we just pull it out, like press all the fucking like shoot all the fucking consoles or whatever. And then Collier turns up.
Like, hey guys,
and
we've been
presses,
pushing
like,
real hard.
3 buttons.
It's like, this is how you do it, idiot. Like, this is what I used to do.
Yeah. Yeah. So he just immediately turns the system off, and
The fight ends.
Yeah, and then it's described in Abnett's typical roundup fashion. Now that all the drama is over, and obviously they won the day. Now,
Something
do
interesting.
you remember
there.
how many? Do you remember how many people died?
A lot. There's a thing here I wanted to
Yes or
say.
no?
The little blurb we get isn't from a history textbook. It is from Antonid Biota, I think, Chief Imperial Tactician, Fantine Theatre. So basically, one of the characters in this story who is kind of responsible for the history thing here is presented as like a bit from his memoirs or something. So he's a character that sort of starts to become important for the next few stories.
It's worth noting actually that turns up. That actually turns up a lot more now in the next 2 books as well. Of quotes from people who are actually in the story, and give you a context of what they were thinking at that moment, but like outside of a scene.
Yeah. Well, it
can be interesting.
One thing it says, it doesn't. I can't see. I've got the quote he gave. It doesn't say how many died, but it does say there was 10,000. They managed to do more with their covert skills than 10,000 slogging infantry units could ever have managed.
Yes. So I guess, and this is, I guess we'll have to get to this next book, but remember that they know this, that the Lord General knows how useful they are as covert specialists. The strategist knows. Everybody fucking knows. So nobody accidentally forgot, right? So I'm not accepting that later on.
No, I don't think they do accidentally forget later on. I don't know what you're talking about, but let's continue on.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Anyway, at the beginning of the next chapter, Gaunt gets a post of all the casualties.
Gaunt's guests. It's the version of Gaunt's ghost where he holds dinner parties.
Gaunt gets a
It's
post
Gaunt's
of the
guest. It's
casualty
his late night show for Imperial
like
Broadcast.
What's that one where they invite like groups around and then they have like the they take turns like cooking meals.
Oh, I know the one you mean. A classic staple of shitty British television.
Come Dine With Me or something like
Yes,
that?
Come Dine With Me.
Go on to this.
Worse.
Getting
I remember
invited to...
Watching other people
Gogglebox is much worse.
television.
Yes. Well, it's...
Gogglebox is the internet react.
What if-
fucking
yeah,
react shit,
what if we
making it
took-
to mod, like,
yeah.
actual TV?
Yes. Yeah.
It's
yeah.
incredible. Yeah.
React content for the even more mainstream masses.
People fucking love it though. My parents love that fucking show. I don't understand, but yeah.
I was gonna say, Come Dine With Me, Lugo inviting people over and just getting absolutely panned for doing a shit job.
Now that he's been promoted, he's just the chef.
Come
They made him
Dine
the
With
chef.
Me, but well, we can get into later books when we can make some really good Come Dine With Me jokes, mostly involving cannibalism.
Okay.
Oh,
God,
no.
Okay. that's a very different.
Come Dine With Me. Now featuring corpse starch.
Oh god. Anyway, so casualty report. I can't remember their name because I'm never going to say it right. I'm gonna. It starts with a U, wasn't it? Can you say it for me?
Udeshi?
Fucking the other group, Udeshi. Yes. So the Udeshi lost 1,200 people in that fight.
Hmm.
The Ghosts lost 28. Now,
To be fair, there was also a lot more of them.
Here's the thing: you said make
True.
this joke, but if you've ever looked at like the casualty rates of, say, the Arab-Israeli wars, or for that matter, the Iraq war, it's like the Americans will lose like 40, 50 men, and the Iraqis will lose like 4,000 or 5,000.
But this is a bit awkward
yes,
because
that's
we're
usually
comparing
equipment
allies.
based. Yeah,
as well.
These are two people with the same equipment, and you know, it's really just how they approached it differently, I guess.
But
still
the
feels
ghosts
good.
are street smart.
Well, they're stealth unit, I guess, but it still feels insane to me just because we see the chaos that is happening at the drop site. It's not. I mean, I guess they did lose an entire dropship actually. So one of the dropships just disappeared. I assume that must have been the other guys.
Yes.
What is wrong with my fucking brain?
They
I
didn't
literally
lose.
cannot keep
They
that
didn't
word
lose
in my brain.
the entirety of the Tanith forces in Tanith numbers. They lost in
Yeah,
Udeshi.
exactly.
You can remember they're Udeshi
Even-
because they're from the
yeah.
planet Udesh. There you go.
Udesh,
Handy tip.
okay. Oh yeah, as if I would remember the planet Udesh any more than I would remember them. Yeah. Anyway, I just find it kind of crazy though, because even the scenes we see, it seems like the fighting and the chaos is large enough that I would have expected more than 28 people to have died. I feel like this might be Abnett doing his thing again, where he has to limit the casualties on the Tanith because there's only going to be a certain number of influx ever, and he's going to have to work it into the plot whenever he does.
Sure. I mean, actually, you know what? That is actually a quite nice thing for Abnett to just fuck around with there. He's like, I want to have high casualties, but not from the ghosts. Wait a minute.
Call an ambulance, but not for me. Yeah. Okay.
I think we have a chat here about with Hark and Gaunt talking about the divide between the Tanith and the Vergastites, which has at no point before now felt like an actual thing, but suddenly we're like, oh, they're not integrating very well. Or maybe you'd be in the Scout Corps.
There's hints of it in
Yeah.
the previous book, but
Was
it's
there?
not fully developed. Yeah,
If there was a theme, there was a little bit of suggestion. But if there was a theme for this model, for this book, if this book has a theme, it is the divide between the Vergastites and the Gaunts and the Ghosts.
Yeah, sure.
It is the main focus. It turns up in 3 or 4 different locations with obvious, very fucking ham-fisted, if anything, kind of for Abnett, obvious comparisons that he sets up in the plot. I'll go through them as we get to them, but yeah, it's definitely the theme of the story.
We also get Van Voigt. Is it Van Voigt? The new general who's replaced Lugo, who shows up and is like, Gaunt, you are very good. Because of how well this went, we want to talk about a new strategy for Auenberg? Is it Auenberg? Auenberg?
I'm not sure.
What do we have you for?
But he's also he comes across as
O-U-R-A-N-B-E-R-G.
Yeah, we'll call it Auenberg. He comes across
as the first, I guess, the first current time commander, Lord Commander that we see here, who is incredibly competent. He seems very.
He's no
very
Melchett.
open. Yeah, he's not a Melchett, exactly. He's very open, and his tactician as well is also of a similar mind. And
Yeah.
they turn up as almost like a I guess a duo here to basically just praise Gaunt and
Like,
also
Gaunt,
comment on the fact that
we have an idea. Come back with us. Yeah.
They also seem to know that Gaunt went against protocol and gave the maps to people, and they seem to realize that was a good idea, and they comment on that as well. So the interesting setup now for, I guess, future stories, because we know that there's a competent Lord General in command, so there's no excuse.
And then we have the drama of the book getting stirred up. I feel like maybe not so much. I don't know. It's kind of weird because every book has got a conflict, obviously, but the conflict in Gaunt's Ghost books is very rarely the fight against chaos. You know, like in Vervenhive, you've got the whole thing with Jantine patricians in the first book. In Vervenhive, there's the whole thing with the internal squabbling, I'm going to call it. And in the last book, there's the whole thing about just the whole thing with Lugo, basically. And this book is a very different style of drama. We have the Imperial citizen Ontiflight, who has a very nice time meeting Kathran, and then not so nice a time meeting another guardsman as she goes to take a bath.
Yeah, the mysterious guardsman who says a single word that does not have an accent.
Yeah. So, okay, I had a note here to ask you how that went with the audiobook. So you've answered that question.
Yes, so this is the key here, is that because everyone has very distinctive accents, the mystery box murderer here had to not give themselves away in the very... Well, I mean, I don't know. There's two ways Abner could have done this, but obviously he wasn't writing specifically for an audiobook. So
yes.
This
only got an audiobook long after it was first published.
Yeah. He does a decent job here, though, of because the murderer only says one word, it's much less obvious when they don't speak with their accent.
Yeah, he basically just, before she screams, says, don't.
And I can only assume that whoever was fucking directing this, and I don't know who directs the audiobooks, unfortunately, because they deserve some massive kudos for this, but like you'd expect a good book to set up something before it happens, like I mentioned earlier, people start saying things without their accents, with the very, very obvious giveaway accents that they say earlier in the book.
Yeah.
And so now it's less obvious when it happens.
I think the only clue we get to our identity is it mentions this other mystery guardsman has got a silver knife. So all we know is that it is from the Tanith.
Very, very likely, at least, because Tanith silver is talked about all the time.
Straight silver.
The straight silver, yes. So, that's the start of the conflict.
Somebody has been murdered, and it was potentially a ghost.
I think we have a little bit more Abnett Horny posting then after this. Not in this scene, thankfully, which would be maybe wouldn't have surprised me too much from Gav Thorpe after having read The Last Chances. But in the next scene, Milo gets treated by Dordan, and he's like, I would rather be being seen by Anna Kurth instead of Dordan because she is a woman. That's the first.
The thing is, you say all of this is Abnett Horny posting, but this feels real to the characters, at least.
Maybe
it's not even real to the characters. That whole thing about feeling better about being treated by a woman was a common feature in the First World War and the Second World War. A lot of soldiers being treated by a woman legitimately made him feel better.
I've seen how Abnett talks about the women in his books. I'm not giving him a pass on this. Do you know what he does then? Do you know what Milo does then? He spends 3 pages pining over Sanian from the last book. So,
Yeah. Well, clearly Milo, it's Milo Horny posting.
He is barely out of puberty, but still.
So following almost immediately on from the scene with Milo, because obviously he's going through a few characters now.
Right. Yeah.
We didn't have a huge amount of time for character introductions and I guess sort of mindset posting before the drama, because we were immediately thrown into that action set basically. But now we get also a scene with Kathran, which is going to become very important shortly, where Abnett basically goes out of his way to show how perfect Kathran is and how perfect Kathran's life is. He's talking about Kathran's relationship with names. I can't remember her name. What's her name?
Creed.
Wasn't
Tona Creed.
Tona Creed, that's the one. He talks about the relationship with his relationship with Tona Creed. He talks about the fact that they're looking after the two children and that they're great parents. And this is all obviously setting up for something that's going to happen very shortly.
Yes. As the commissars show up with Auntie Flight's kid, and he points at Kathran, which is bad for Kathran.
Very bad for Kathran, because apparently this is a fucking banana cord.
Well, I guess, like, it sets the whole thing out in a way that's very believable, right? Because it's the Guard. They've got they've got plenty of manpower. One or two people who are committing, like, heinous crimes, getting, they're not too worried about proving they're innocent, basically, because it's not really about making sure the guilty are punished. It's about, like, sending a message and just moving on and not wasting any time. That's
I don't know.
Kind of vibe.
You say that. I think Abner pushed that to the absolute fucking limit.
Sure,
here, because
and I think we see it from Gaunt's perspective, though, right? Because obviously, like, for the ghosts, they are a elite force who can't get more of them, right? I mean, they picked up some from Vervenhive, but they are a small, limited numbers group of like fighting force. For most of the Guard, they are innumerable hordes of bodies that are thrown at the enemy. So that's sort of a dichotomy.
There's a few reasons
here.
Why. Yeah, there is a few reasons here, though, why the Guard would benefit massively from getting it right. One is obviously morale, because people getting fucking tried and executed for things that they didn't do is not good for morale anyway. So it's not really just about solving the problem.
Yes,
this doesn't solve the problem. If they don't kill the murderer, if the murderer is still there, then it doesn't fix the issue.
Right, but, like, they have obviously a child is an unreliable witness, but hey, who's said that any single witness?
Eyewitnesses are fucking bad in general. Like,
yes.
Eyewitnesses and humans are fucking really shit at remembering things that happened, as I've proven constantly by the fact I can't remember anyone's name. And so not only is this an eyewitness that is already suspect, but this is a kid who obviously just witnessed an incredibly traumatizing event. And they just sort of immediately say, oh, the kid pointed at Kathran, must be Kathran. I guess that's open and shut then. I think that is a little bit extreme, even for what you're saying here, which is effectively like a military tribunal that they're trying to rush because they don't give a fuck about, like, manpower and life.
Sure, but, like, if in the absence of any other actual evidence that they have, they've got an unreliable witness and no evidence to the contrary, and also Kathran was there, which doesn't help.
Well, they didn't look. No, because you can't just say that no evidence to the contrary, because we find out later that they didn't actually look for any evidence at all. Like, they didn't look for anything. they didn't find any of the, because, like, very shortly, McVenor, obviously McVenor is going to be sent to this team.
McCall.
Oh, McCall.
Detective McCall is on the case. Who finds the looted coin, the suspiciously familiar looted coin.
Not only that, though, he finds, like, everything at the scene. Like, it's like some sort of fucking Batman.
Oh, and like a little, I mean, he's their, like, head scout. That's his thing. You know, he's Mr. Observant.
Yeah, well, he finds the coin. He finds, like, a bunch of, like, scuff marks or something. He finds somewhere where there would have been fingerprints that is no longer fingerprints.
We've gone from Kathran being arrested to, like, the contents of the trial.
Well, yeah, but there's not really.
This is not the
That's
context.
true.
This is just explaining the setup for it.
We've only jumping on I think we have, like, one scene where I think Gaunt basically finds out about it and is like, that it was being kept from him. Hark is like, it's open and shut. It's a common incident in the Guard, and Gaunt's like, no, McCall, get on the case. That's about all we've missed. Also, that Corbeck and Sorek are dying in the medbay, but that's fine.
Yeah, so Corbeck has been injured again, and Sorek has been injured. Note that one is a ghost and one is a Vergast.
Oh, yeah.
And they're both in very, very similar positions in the command structure too.
We've got the same with Varl and Collier as well. They're sort of like two people paired off. Who have we got that pairs off? You've got Varl and Collier. You've got Sorek and Corbeck. Sorek's like, he's a little behind. I mean, Corbeck's ahead of the fucking ghosts
Yeah.
buying.
Like Sorik is kind of doesn't
But he's
Sorik
high up. He's
Sorik
like a.
talked multiple times about how at some point he wants to be the second in command or something, doesn't he?
I think Corbeck and
so he's
Sorik.
supposed to be kind of the.
I think that they are kind of one thing they are equivalent is I think they're both kind of described as being like the soul of their half of the Legion. Like Sorik's like the hero, the Scratch Company hero of Vervenhive, and Corbeck. Everyone fucking loves Corbeck.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
We've got what other pairings have we got? We've got Larkin and fuck off, Cat.
Well, they got Catherine and Tona Creed.
He's running in here. He's just fucking Kramer entries into the room through the closed door and starts yelling, "Get the fuck out of here, Cat." Okay. Hang on. Yeah, okay.
Something very important.
Oh, we got Catherine and Tona Creed.
Catherine and Creed. We've got Nessa and Larkin, who have this sort of like little sniper rivalry going on. We've got
Ron and
I don't know if Ron and Banda are really a pairing. He's just eyeing her up, and
it seems like setting it up. I don't know. Well, he's not. This is the thing. He's not necessarily eyeing her up. He gets fucking flustered constantly whenever she flirts with him, which is kind of funny.
He's like, "Oh, they shouldn't have all these distracting women," and she's like winking at him over her shoulder.
Yeah. It's fucking stupid.
But we'll give you this one, Ron.
It is funny for Ron's character.
Yes.
Yeah. Obviously, he freaks out constantly.
Ron's like a serious, like, he's got the rivalry of Gaunt, I'll kill him myself. And then just these women around him, he drops the spaghetti like a 14-year-old boy who doesn't know how to talk to girls and isn't quite sure why they make his pee-pee feel funny.
Oh no, my spaghetti. Yeah, basically. It is a fucking huge juxtaposition, and it's kind of funny because of it, I guess. You mentioned the conversation that Gaunt has with Hawk, right, about the divide between the ghosts and the Vergastites.
Yeah, and then over
there's
here,
more to that conversation, which was kind of funny because they have. Well, Abnett seems to be setting up for, and he does actually go on with this, almost like a conversation on merits and disadvantages of affirmative action in this story, which is kind of an interesting play, because they have a conversation here about the merits of trying to make the Vergastites feel more included, but by promoting them into positions that they haven't been able to get to from like their qualifications, specifically the scouts here.
He talks about Ku and how he could probably make it to the scouts.
Well, yeah, but Gaunt hates Ku, so I guess that's another issue here as well.
Gaunt earlier on went out of his way to be like, you know what? If Ku doesn't make it back, I'll be okay with that. He just like a purpose of nothing, basically, just voices that thought as while they were on their way in to that first engagement.
And Hawk is obviously like, maybe that's not the best kind of.
Have you got unconscious biases, Gaunt? Like, no, Ku's a fucking dick.
Yeah, that's just the funny thing, right? Because it's such a weird setup for the discussion. Because obviously the Ku being the alter side to this conversation, where he is, he's the Vergastite that Gaunt is obviously biased against. But we also know that Ku is an absolute cunt. So
it's interesting.
how does it? Yeah,
because all of the characters in the last book who were like making these comments and like making it clear to us that Ku is viewed this way were Tanith ghosts.
I guess actually that's a good point.
Tanith ghosts are a minority, and you cannot replace their losses. So by sheer process of elimination,
they're being replaced, is what you're saying, right? There is a replacement happening.
Well, it gets worse. We'll see.
You're gonna have to cut this, wasn't it? We've discovered too much of a meta plot behind this story. We have to bury it.
I mean, there's no racial angle to it. It's simply a case that, again, they cannot replace casualties from Tanith. Over time, the regiment will become less Tanith simply because they can actually get replacements from other places.
What's that conspiracy? The one that's like a made-up meme conspiracy to
great replacement.
No, not that. No, that's not a meme one. That's something people actually believe. The Hibernian conspiracy. The one where it's there to make up. It's there to make fun of conspiracy theories about like certain like races or things being like in charge in certain areas, which posits the idea that the Irish are actually in charge. This is like the reverse of that, given that it's all like the.
I mean, here's the thing:
the Celtic origins,
the ghost,
vibes, yeah.
Well, Ron is Irish in the story, so I mean, I guess like
that's why I say it's the reverse of that.
Hierarchy.
That's why I say it's the reverse of that here, though. It's the reverse Hibernian conspiracy.
Selling Lucky Charms and Guinness.
You can't just say that.
No.
You keep coming out of lines like that, and they think we're American.
But yes, anyway, you've got the discussion here where Hark is like, maybe you should just order McCall to take some of the Vergastites as the scout into the scouts, and Gaunt is just like, well, I'm not going to interfere with the scout group. That is literally his domain. That is McCall alone who decides who is good enough to be in the scouts. So you've got Hark like very, very, I guess very.
Hark's doing. He's being very political about things.
Yeah, he's very much pushing for what did they call it in the last book? The act of was it reconciliation or what the fuck was it? No, what the fuck was it? What do they call it when they brought them into the they brought the Vergastites into the ghosts?
I don't know what it was called, but I know it.
There's a word.
Yeah, but
there's a word that they use to refer to it all the time.
I'm sure someone will comment and tell us what we don't know.
Anyway, Hark is very much like all about making sure that everybody feels like a cohesive unit, whereas Gaunt is showing that he does actually have some biases, and we see later on that he obviously has biases towards the ghost.
We do, but I don't know that him saying the scouts are purely a meritocracy.
Oh no, that's not part of it.
Yeah.
That's not part of it. The part of it comes from all of the examples that we're going to see, including Kolbeck and Sorek in the infirmary, including the trial, and like I think there's one other thing that we might get.
Okay. Well, okay. Either way, yeah. Also, on the subject of Hark being very like politically minded, almost here, he's he's almost like Gaunt's very attuned to the regiment on like a personal level, I feel like, whereas Hark is more about the bigger picture of relations in the regiment, I feel like. And you kind of see that with also him not bothering to tell Gaunt about the Catherine thing, because he's like, it's an open and shut case. These things happen.
I think Hark is being purposely naive there, because I think he knows that Gaunt would care a lot about that, and is purposely telling
this
him.
And I think he definitely but this is like his justification for not telling him, because it's true from his perspective. He's not saying, oh, I didn't think you'd care. He's just saying, this is how it is, Gaunt.
Well, I think he's just being political again there, because like he knows he knows that Gaunt would care.
Oh yeah, he was definitely keeping it from him because he knew he'd care. But like he's still, you know,
and he's got a reason, as you said, that is like kind of true, but also that's not the reason. But yeah, I mean, I think Gaunt knows it's not the reason as well, because he gets really fucking angry with him. And that you could argue, as you just said there, that Gaunt sees this from a personal angle. You could argue that a lot of the biases, maybe not all of them, but a lot of the biases that we see that kind of suggest that Gaunt obviously has a bias towards the ghosts is actually just because he knows those ghosts better, because they've been with him longer. He knows those characters. We obviously see like the specifics here. We see Ghost and Kolbeck obviously have a very good relationship. So later it will be suggested that Gaunt obviously has a ghost bias because he visits Kolbeck in his sickbed and talks about Kolbeck in his speeches, but has never once mentioned Sorek. Sorry, and I think that's probably part of both. Sorek. I think that's probably part of both. I think there's probably a bit of bias there because he thinks of it as the Tanith regiment. So he's like, oh, Kolbeck. Everyone will care about Kolbeck being injured, and just sort of somehow forgets Sorek in this case. But also he's best friends kind of with Kolbeck. You know, there's a reason for him to care more about Kolbeck in this case.
I think before we get more of the trial drama, Gaunt gets to see Van Voigt, who is like a very, very different type of Lord General.
Yes, he's another fantastic scene where we learn so much about him.
I've got two big notes here. So one of them is we get to see him like a very like personable side. Like he's like the Lord General is trying to get a machine to work, And Gaunt's like, that's really a tech madras's job, sir. And he goes, I'm a Lord General, I can do anything.
As a joke. Like, this is the
and
funny
they both
thing.
laugh.
You can see some Lord General saying that as if it's like serious as fuck. Like, without context, you could like, somebody like MacLeod would say that and mean it.
The other thing I noted,
bleak like a coach, though.
They also they also bond and gush over Ravener's books. All right, Abnett, calm down.
Had the Ravener books? I don't think the first Ravener book was out at this point.
No,
so this is kind of
the whole
just setting up this character.
Sure, but Ravener as a character has been written in the Eisenhorn books.
He has been written. Interesting.
But yeah, it's a few years. The whole Saint arc has been finished for a few years.
Spheres of Longing, which is Ravener's infamous track.
They were mentioned in First and Only, but now him and Van Voigt's just sit here and gush over Ravener.
Abnett's not going to miss a single opportunity to interconnect all of the
promote his new book,
all of the book series he writes. Yeah.
But the whole Saint arc is
I liked about this conversation,
the Library of Chaos's Ravener episode coming soon.
I wanted to say about the conversation with Van Hoyt. The thing I liked about this conversation is that he starts pushing Gaunt, or he starts suggesting that Gaunt, like Hark does, that Gaunt should stay away from the trial, that the trial is pretty much a foregone conclusion anyway by the sound of it. He doesn't actually know anything of the details, is the thing. But the second Gaunt pushes back and starts presenting his reasoning for why he cares about the case, Van Hoyt doesn't even fucking care. He's just like, okay then, sure, go for it. And there's a thing, considering he's the Lord General, this is something we've not seen, or the Lord Commander, I don't know what his title is.
I think it's Lord General.
We've not really seen this at all in that sort of character before, because typically I could totally imagine the last 3 fucking Lord Generals we've seen basically just saying, this is an order to go and just leave it alone. Just fucking move away.
This is the first Lord General he's had since taking up the Tanith First and Only that hasn't been a shitter.
Yeah, that actually cares about what he thinks as well, though. A lot of people will sort of, a lot of them would sort of maybe take some things that he said into account, but not openly to his face. This guy's obviously saying, okay, well, I know I just said the complete opposite, but if you care that much about it, or you think that that's the right way to do it, then go ahead. He basically lets Gaunt completely contradict what he's just suggested, and he doesn't.
I mean, he basically says, "You probably shouldn't dedicate much time to that," and then Gaunt's like, "I'm going to." It's like, okay,
yeah, he backs on immediately. It's so interesting to see a different position.
He wants to
a different person's role.
He's more interested in discussing what's actually happening next, which is Slaith, the leader of the Blood Pact here, is at Orenburg, which is, I think, the big one they want to capture, basically, with Loxatl Mercs, who have several times been casually mentioned as something people do not want to meet. And he's sent on to gather a team for his mission while he continues investigating for Kathran.
Yes. We also didn't mention that he gives Gaunt the priceless Ravener book. At the end of the meeting, he's just like, yeah, you can keep it, Gaunt. And Gaunt's like, the fuck? You must have had this shipped from the Libraries of Terror or something. He's like, well, whatever.
I'm a Lord General, I can get another one.
yeah, basically. It's crazy. Oh, and then we get a bait and switch, right? So coming out of that scene with Van Hoyt, we get to watch a firing squad shooting a prisoner who's to be executed. And typical fucking movie fashion, this was so fucking obviously a movie scene. Listening to it from Abnett here, because obviously Gaunt walks into the room. The firing squad's lined up. They're described, and then they shoot the prisoner. And then Gaunt starts talking about the current case as if nothing has happened. So it's obvious that it wasn't relevant. It was just a different random prisoner. So at this point is when the trial or the case becomes a lot more complicated.
Well, yeah, because I think the next thing that happens is Bragg dobbing in Ku, right?
Yes. So they're all in the barracks, I guess, and Ku gets searched, and they find a bunch of coins on him, and then it becomes suggested very quickly that Ku probably or could have committed the murder because the coins were found at the scene of the crime by.
And also, there's the whole thing
by
about
MacLeod.
like, let me see your knife, and he's like, nope, no notch on that. And somebody else is like, I saw you sharpening it 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, that was the sergeant. I can't remember who. I can't remember what his name was, but
Yeah.
and he was like, oh, "Is it a crime to have a sharp knife, Tanith?"
No, but these coins aren't so good.
Yes,
You'd think that
at the minimum
you'd think they're like, well, the knife being sharpened is a bit suspicious with the coins, which were found on the scene at the scene of a crime. So surely that solves this. Nope. Apparently, a second suspect means this is a formal inquiry, and Catherine needs to be cleared before we can try a coup or something. Like what?
Yeah, well, to be fair, I wouldn't suggest that the coins are actually any more of an indication than any of the other fucking
but this whole thing that's like
evidence, like the child being used as an eyewitness. Like they're just, I say they're all just as bullshit evidence.
Sure, but this whole thing about like you're fine unless we decide Catherine didn't do it is a bit weird.
I feel like
exactly
considering what they were about to do to Catherine, I kind of feel like they would have just shot both of them in this case.
Yeah.
Just be like, fuck it.
In a more traditional Imperial Guard book, they probably would have just shot them both.
Yeah. I think Gaunt, there's something weird going on, like there's an inquisitor with an interrogation, like who's been interrogating people, and it's like, Gaunt, you need to be here for these findings. So he's like, Hawk, fix this.
So I forgot the fucking line that were in that bait and switch section with the firing squad. They actually tell you what that guy did, and there's a line in it that fucking killed me when I was listening to it because I think it's given by Hark, and Hark says something like, "Poor bastard, he went crazy after he took an injury or something. Killed one of the medicus with a gurney. I can't imagine how you he said, I can't imagine how you managed to kill someone with a gurney." It's just coming from Hark in his completely fucking like
deadpan,
deadpan expression. It was just fucking killed me.
Yeah. So Hark's been told go and figure this out because Catherine's innocent, and Hark has like a bit of like a crisis of faith here because he's like, oh no, I'm supposed to be a political officer who follows the letter of the law and make sure the right thing happens according to the process, blah blah blah, and then
yes.
He gets some spiritual guidance from Zweil, and then goes off to investigate.
Gaunt effectively tells Hark, and I don't know whether Gaunt intended him to tell him this, but Gaunt effectively tells Hark, go and prove Catherine innocent.
Go and make sure that Catherine is found innocent.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I mean, if he said it exactly like that, that's a bit more explicit.
I don't think he said it like that, but like the way he says it is very like, I expect to come back and Catherine is innocent. I expect to come back and Catherine not be dead.
And then he goes to Zweil, and Zweil effectively just says, yeah, I can't see Catherine doing it.
He probably is innocent. And then, like, if he actually is innocent, you could probably do whatever, Hark. Just make sure he's innocent. Basically, is like what happens there.
To be honest,
and then Hark goes off.
This is a great question.
Yeah.
This is a great, like, interesting, like, take on this, because you have to think, like, what would you do in this situation? Like, I think I would probably do what Hark does, which is go away and prove Catherine innocent.
So, I mean, well, what Hark does here is he goes, ostensibly, first things first, what Hark does is he goes off and has a little bit of asking around with the neighbours and goes and shows up with, actually, it turns out there's a perfect witness nobody found before, and Catherine is free.
So this is the thing. This is the thing to note as well, though, is that Hark knows that there are two people on trial for this. So he knows that if he proves Catherine innocent, that he's effectively also throwing someone else under the bus here.
Yes.
There is more to it than that, but that is like the general idea that he now knows that he's basically putting Coup in the spotlight for this murder by freeing Catherine, and he has now just fabricated evidence to do so. We don't find out immediately that this is fabricated, but it kind of suggested that it is, and then
it's extremely convenient. And then later on, Gaunt's like, "Did you fuck around here and make this up?"
Well, no, he says, "I spoke to the man, and the man told me what had happened." The guy who gave witness testimony that freed Catherine. It's interesting though, because obviously Hark then says to Gaunt, this is another example of the Vergastites getting the seconds, the
Yeah, this is the first time I feel
bad
like
end of this, I guess.
this is at this point here when Kafran is free and suddenly the spotlight is on Ku for this crime. This is the first point in all of these books where I have actually felt like, the Vergastite aren't very happy with their situation. But it certainly ramps it up there. If you're saying there's hints before, but I maybe just not.
But this is the thing. I don't know whether Abner set it up like this and because it makes it more more interesting, or whether it's kind of almost takes away. I'm still not decided on whether this actually makes it better or worse in terms of the way that Abner set this up, because we fucking hate Ku. We know that everyone hates Ku.
I know what you mean.
And so it's really awkward to use Ku as an example here. Because I feel like a lot of the Vergastites must also know that Ku is a fucking cunt, and that he could very well have done this murder.
I think there's an element here of the fact that they're using Ku here makes it more. It certainly makes this attitude be less about an actual injustice and more about an actual it's like an almost natural tribal thing. It's almost like.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
It is a great example inspired by a recent event, the trial of O.J. Simpson. I'm not wrong here.
Yeah.
It's exactly the shit, because people were very happy to give him a pass based on the general climate and injustice going
very,
on,
very likely
in the wider social context.
Yeah.
There were people who were even though he was guilty, him being found innocent was a win due to the racial injustice.
Yeah, this is justice because of all of the white people that are found innocent.
Yeah, there's a weird sort of...
You're absolutely right.
Yeah, which I think is
what
quite...
What I didn't realise is it basically just proved that rich people can be found innocent for murders. But aside from that, I think we're more aware of that these days. But I think the key here is that from Hawk's perspective, right? Think about this. Gaunt ordered him for the ghost, Kafran, to basically fabricate evidence to get him free. Now, it's a lot more dubiously moral, I guess, if you're Hawk and you're trying to think what to do next in this situation.
And he's also been put in this awful spot
evidence
by Gaunt.
Yeah, do you go away and fabricate evidence to get Ku free as well, knowing that he could very well have actually done this murder and might do it again? Equal treatment from the command structure of the regiment would kind of require him to, I guess. So, yeah, I guess we've got to see what Hawk doesn't have to make that decision though anyway in the end. So,
I think because there's a whole cutting back and forth that goes on everywhere because
there's another mission going on, isn't there?
Yeah, it's good at giving you this feeling of things moving forward with multiple plot lines competently.
Have we talked about Operation Laracel yet?
That's exactly it.
The mission that's happening right now.
No, yes, so Operation Laracel is a crack team.
Just for context, Laracel is the equivalent of a squirrel on Tanith.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I didn't know that. Operation Squirrel.
Yeah.
So Operation Laracel is a crack team of sergeants, scouts, snipers, and miscellaneous protagonists.
Yeah, I was about to say, because for some reason Milo is on this mission.
Milo's there, and so is Vadim, I believe.
Vadim turns up, yeah, but Vadim is a specialist, right? Vadim is actually a specialist.
No, he's there as a miscellaneous protagonist.
Well, no, he's training them in the fucking rope stuff.
Yeah, but he is there. He's not a sergeant. He's not a scout. He's not a sniper. He's a miscellaneous protagonist.
Well, okay,
because there's basically 4 roles.
He's an expert in
each squad. Each squad has got 4 roles. One person is a sergeant in charge of that squad. One is a scout. One is a sniper there to actually assassinate Sagittar Slafe, and the 4th one is there to carry a gun that isn't a lasgun, because Locksattel cannot be killed by shooting them with lasguns. It turns out. So basically, you get yes.
Cover what a Locksattel was again.
It's like a weird, reptile amphibian alien. So they have
like the cybermassive things, right? They're like
no. They are like they've got we see a description of them later on, but what's described at the moment is they're a sort of amphibian thing with a weird skin which doesn't really get fucked up by a lasgun.
That's kind of bullshit.
So yeah, but I mean, I don't know. So anyway, they have
now they've introduced an alien that is immune to lasgun fire.
Very handy against the Imperial Guard.
So exactly.
They are.
Might have another weapon,
but there are several weapons which are very good at killing things like that because you have things like heavy bolters. But not a heavy bolter is not something you'd normally bring into a mission like this. However, they do all get like one. I can't remember what gun it is. Is it a heavy bolter? It might be like a stubber.
No, regular
auto rifle,
fucking
isn't it?
M rounds.
Oh, it's like
Can they not just use regular chemical rounds?
They're using like regular bullets. They have a regular. They have a fourth person who's there to hold the regular gun. Just the auto rifles because the auto rifles kill lock saddles.
They just gave him an AK-47 and was like, "There you go, this will be fine."
And they probably have more ammo than everybody with a lasgun at this point.
yeah, probably. Probably.
So yeah,
East Russia has been printing out fucking AKs.
And in this swapping back and forth, Gaunt shows up to give him the good news that Kathran is free, and then they continue their training.
Yeah.
And then Ku's fucking golden ticket shows up, which is a bunch of blood-packed masquerading as ghosts who stole equipment from the morgue. Very convenient if you are somebody on trial because a ghost was spotted doing a murder.
Yes, provides enough plausible deniability that I still am kind of amazed that they even bother considering that they were going on the single eyewitness testimony of a child who had just experienced massive trauma. It's
basically just a whole thing. It's becoming increasingly unlikely. The circumstances make it increasingly unlikely that it was a ghost that did it. So these other commissars are just like, fuck it.
And say, fuck it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just wipe the slate and say, we'll just be very, very watchful next time.
Can you just fuck off and let us execute people?
Yeah.
They're like very annoyed at these constant interruptions to their justice.
And there's a moment in the trial where like Gaunt walks up to Ku and he's trying to figure out like what the deal is with Ku and whether he actually did it or not.
And Ku's like, I didn't do it. I'm innocent, Gaunt.
Yeah. This is the thing. Like Abner is going, but not only that. He describes the look in Ku's eyes as animal fear. Now, anyone else, I'd be like, okay, well, humans are animals. That's typical kind of. Most people would be fucking terrified in a situation like that, especially even if they didn't do it. Obviously, that they're about to be executed potentially. But in the case of Ku, and then the fact that he's like,
there's like something primal almost going on.
Yeah, and he's potentially lying straight to Gaunt's face in this situation, and Gaunt doesn't even bat an eyelid. He just completely I don't know whether he necessarily believes him, but
he's like, all right,
it doesn't come across as a lie. So I don't know. Abner's constantly setting Ku up. I think it's like almost like literally as a true psychopath in these scenes that we see him in.
So then Ku gets off this whole thing free, except that he was still caught stealing, looting. So he gets flogged, which he's not happy about.
Ku just surviving execution and getting flogged, and he is still fucking super pissed. Like Ku has no fucking he has no fucking scale of anything. Like he sees everything as a slight, which so like this is just it fits with his character, at least I'll say.
Yeah, and then we have a scene with Collier as well, because Collier's kids are obviously in Kathran and Creed's care. This has sort of been building up over this book and the last one. This whole thing with Collier and the kids. He's like, I don't want to turn their lives upside down, and Kurth is like trying to convince him. So
yeah,
he's like, I'll do it after Orenburg. It's some real last day before retirement vibes.
Yeah.
It's like,
But what's really fucking this is fucking weird again though, right? Because he says something like, I have a feeling, despite saying he's not going to do it until after Orenburg, he says, I have a feeling I'm not going to come back.
But I have a bad feeling, so here's a letter. If I die, go give this to like Kathran and Creed.
Yeah.
Something like that, right?
Like, why is everyone prophetic in this fucking story? Like,
hey, there's nothing wrong with having a bad feeling.
I feel like at this point, Abner is seeing this almost as like another form of foreshadowing, because he does this all the fucking time, and it's like that's honestly, of everything Abner does, that feels like lazy, like super lazy writing. Like Abner is a really good writer, obviously, But that part always feels super lazy to me because throwing prophecy in as an exchange for foreshadowing.
I don't know about prophecy
is a little
because
bullshit.
Collier's just like, I don't know, I got a bad feeling. That's it. I'm going to write this letter, and I think also if you're just about to embark on a really dangerous mission and you're like, I'll do it after that. I don't want to deal with it right now. Then fine.
It's not decided... it's the way he says it, though. He doesn't say, I'm going to die.
Yeah,
he doesn't say, I'm probably going to get killed on this mission. He says, I don't know if I'll come back. Or I don't know if the way he words it, because it's very important for later on.
That doesn't feel that bad, but I don't know.
I don't know. It's just, there's a bit much prophecy bullshit in these stories, in my opinion, but...
Just to...
something in Dan M that does a lot. He, leans into the mystical nature of 40k.
With Operation Laracel, we should mention there's two parts to this. So part one is Laracel get dropped in there, and part two is after they've been there for a few days, they start an actual... Is it after they've been there? Yeah, it's like they get like a little bit...
infiltrating and then they're assassinating, basically.
Yeah, but like after they've first landed there, they get like a bit of time to settle in and try and do it, and then they're going to send a main assault. With the idea being... if you fail, we still have a main assault. And maybe if you haven't done it yet, then maybe the chaos of a main assault will help you, type thing.
Yeah, well, the plan was to go in and take the place anyway. They just think that by doing it stealthily, assassinating the leader first, it'll cause chaos in the ranks, and they'll have a much easier time of it.
And so, also...
there's definitely always going to be the main assault.
Also, the fact that the main assault is still happening kind of helps them with keeping Laracel secret, because as far as the enemy knows, the plan is the main assault. So
yeah, that makes sense.
It's happening ahead of the main assault, but the main assault is kind of like the cover for it. The fact that the main assault's about to happen.
Before we leave, we talked very briefly about the fact that Gaunt obviously finds out about Hark fabricating the evidence for the trial, Catherine's trial. There's a conversation here between Gaunt and Hark, and I wanted to hear your guys' take on it, because you can disagree or agree with Gaunt here. But Gaunt kind of lays into Hark for fabricating the evidence.
Yeah, I think Gaunt can get fucked here, because Gaunt made it clear he wanted to come back and find Catherine alive, and now he's like, but if you couldn't prove it, it would have been right for Catherine to be executed. Like, fuck off.
Yeah, this felt very much like a Thomas Becket kind of situation to me.
You fucking put Hark in this situation, Gaunt.
You know the story of Thomas Becket?
Not sure.
I think it's one of the kings. I think it's maybe King Richard.
It was King Henry II, who was the first of the Plantagenet kings who married Eleanor of Aquitaine. And Thomas of Becket was he was like the first commoner to make a really big mark on British history. He was made Archbishop of Canterbury in the expectation that because he was a friend of Henry II, he would be a pliant Archbishop of Canterbury and would ensure that the the English branch of the Roman Catholic Church would be firmly under royal control, a theme of British history that would eventually lead to Henry VIII and the complete break of the English Church from Rome hundreds of years further away. But in this case, once he became Archbishop of Canterbury, Thomas of Becket started raising hell against the king. He protested new taxes against the church, and there became a kind of shadow war between the two, which eventually saw the Archbishop of Canterbury, Thomas of Becket, murdered by several knights, led by one Henry de Bohun, because King Henry II, who famously had a very, very short temper, once screamed. Now, it's attributed, no one rid me of this turbulent priest, but the actual thing he said is, what miserable knaves and wretches have let me be insulted by a low-born cleric. That was your British history lesson from a New Zealander. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Just to clarify, the moral of the story is if you don't want people to go and get rid of and kill somebody, don't imply you want it to happen.
Yes, exactly. That was the moral of that story. Is don't suggest something and then get angry when someone actually went and did it. If you should have been more careful with your words.
Yes.
And so Gaunt in this case very obviously implied that he wanted Catherine freed, and Hark then went and fabricated evidence to do so. And Gaunt freaks the fuck out at him, and he's like, he says something like, "Never ever do that again, Hark. This is against your remit as a commissar, basically." And this
Hark
seems like a
shamed,
joke. Yeah, as you said,
but it's also a level of I feel like Hark was simultaneously shamed, but also was like, I think better of Gaunt now because he doesn't want me fabricating evidence, but he still feels like the personal shame.
It's so bullshit, though.
It is.
I feel like Gaunt had to say that simply because Gaunt is the perfect fucking character. Like,
I think it's the most bullshit thing Gaunt does in the entire fucking series.
Well, yeah, no, I agree. Even the like straight up murders later on, like that's just because he's a commissar. I can get behind that. No, like the fucking this is really dumb in my opinion. I wanted to hear what you guys said first, but I agree that Gaunt should just get fucked in this situation.
Poor Hawk.
Especially, they know that Kafran is innocent, so it kind of suggests that he would have just wanted Kafran to rather Kafran be executed for a crime he obviously didn't do, and everything that goes with that, than Hawk fabricate some evidence to appease a fucking bullshit tribunal.
Yeah. Not impressed with Gaunt here.
Which, that's not a very impressive position.
Like, I don't feel like Gaunt is normally portrayed as like an unreasonable or morally grey character. It doesn't really feel in keeping with the Gaunt Abnett is trying to sell to us most of the time.
Yeah,
it's a swing and a miss
weird,
to me.
It almost felt here like Abnett had to have Gaunt say that because Gaunt has to be completely morally like upstanding. But that's not the moral position, though, in my opinion. Like the Imperial,
like it would have been better done if he
army tribunal is not considered to be the height of moral superiority.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
And I also think that there's a level of like this could have been done better with Gaunt realizing he'd basically made him fabricate stuff and feeling contrite for that, rather than trying to shame Hawk for it. You know, would have been a more effective way of doing it.
Was it Henry II?
I think that's what I heard.
Henry II.
Are you talking about how
his reaction to it is so much better than Gaunt's?
Reaction to walk to Canterbury barefoot in a hair shirt and then have the monks whip him while confessing his sins.
Based.
Well, he was super upset.
Henry II would then get basically effectively overthrown by Richard the Lionheart because all of his children turned against him.
Based in
the
contrition.
story of Henry II is one of the legitimately most. It's a fascinating example of British history. The story of Henry II and how he built and then lost the Angevin Empire.
Fair enough. But yes, his reaction to finding out he had just had his friend assassinated basically was so much more appropriate and better, in my opinion, than Gaunt's reaction here.
Abnett could learn a thing or two from this.
Well, that's the thing. He usually learns from history very well.
He knows his British history very well. He lives in Maidstone, which is where Wat Tyler was elected as head of the Peasants' Revolt. So he knows his history. It's all around.
Okay.
More completely random British history. Fair enough.
Really random British history from a New Zealander.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I'm all for that. These are all things. Lots of these things. Like I know the story of Thomas Becket because it's taught in very young age in school. But the Peasants' Revolt I know a little about, but not much, simply because it was an event that happened. But they never really teach things in that much depth usually until later on. So it's cool.
We have
we find McCall's weakness. We find out McCall has a weakness at last.
What's that?
He's not just Batman. He doesn't like flying high up in the air.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. So here we get to the actual drop happening, don't we? And obviously, everything in the drop happens perfectly. Oh wait, no.
Well, of course he would. What do you mean, wasn't he? Everything goes to plan in this book.
So we have we've got Milo's team, which has Doyle and Nessa. They arrive without incident because Milo is lucky.
Yeah, that's why he's there. I fucking forgot. That's the only reason he's actually on this team is because he is the lucky charm. He brings the luck.
Yes. Also, Bonin is also lucky. And Val's team with Vadim, Varefa, and Bonin also make it. They also save... I think Bonin gets separated, but saves Jagdir, the pilot, who is a pilot they picked up on the fucking dome before. They're like, yeah, let's have her flying again. Things go badly, but he saves her. And then Merrin's team, which has McVenna and Larkin, make it as well. And then McCall's like, something's not working great with the aimer. All right, guys, fuck it. Let's jump. And then the plane explodes. But it's McCall, so he's probably fine. They're not going to just have him... That's not a way that McCall is going to die. Right.
Well, I feel like at some point, if he does die, though, he will die from flying really high up because he makes a big thing about how he's like, he just hates it. He hates being in the sky. Which, to be fair, if you didn't have a parachute, would be pretty terrifying most of the time, I'd imagine.
Yeah, that's actually something to talk about. They have got these weird-ass, like, grav packs that they're trained with. That's the whole training that those
the
people are
grab
doing,
drop.
because they already know how to be stealthy, how to like do a like stealth mission. They know how to be a sniper. They've got a scout, and you don't need training to just use the auto rifle. You point gun and shoot, and the bullet come out instead of laser. But what they are training with the Fantine specialist in how to use their grav packs for drop insertion, which lets
you say the guns are the same, but only because the las guns for some reason have recoil.
Yes. Thanks, Avnet. Anyway,
Carry on.
So they've got these grav packs, which basically are like, instead of a parachute, we can control gravity locally with this thing to just go up and down. It's like a gravity.
It's fucking incredible, considering the technology they have everywhere else.
Yeah,
this is fucking next level bullshit.
Like, you've got, I think there's a big element here of like one of the things that explains 40K's inconsistent technology a lot of the time is our friend from the first ever Gaunt's Ghost book, the standard template constructs. Now,
they found a template construct that controls gravity.
If you have a template construct that makes a certain thing, it'll make that thing. If you don't, you can't have more of them. Which is why you have like land speeders, but you don't have any sort of grav jet bikes for Space Marines. But
have, like,
except for like that one guy has as a relic of their chapter for the Dark Angels.
So you just have like these very specific arcane pieces of technology that nobody understands, but just somehow sees typical use simply because they have so many of them.
Well, I don't know if I'd say these see typical use, but they are able to produce these as opposed to like jet bikes, which are only widely used by aliens and the Custodies. Who have not been. I don't know if they've been fleshed out to have jetpacks back when this book was written. Probably not.
Jetpacks. This parachute that somehow just replaces an actual parachute with gravity control on a very, very precise level that's just incredible.
So the other thing to mention is that Abnett, especially in his early books, is also a bit wonky on like appropriate tech levels. For example, having just like
the next book.
For example, I was going to say in the Eisenhorn books, you have like the speeder chase. They just have like little grav corvettes.
That's a good point. But like the next book is the perfect example of you basically just have to ignore all of the technology because none of it makes any sense.
Oh, I don't know if I agree with that fully, but we'll get to that next book. These things are, very handy high-tech things, which are, I think they're normally only used by like the elites though of the Fantine doing their proper like drop insertions, and they are basically just learning how to use these because they use them for the drop to actually get out of their plane and into the thing.
Yeah.
So
we just spent 10 minutes talking about a grav thing, but it's a cool device, and it is very odd to see it here amongst all of their absolute shit Vox systems and stuff.
Milo's team get a textbook perfect insertion. I think Bonin and Jagdia have like a whole thing with finding their way to the rest of the team. And at some point, I think Jagdia is like, I'll slow you down. Leave me behind. I'll sacrifice myself, and me being here will explain all these dead bodies. And Val and Bonin are like, no, this mission will get tortured out of you. You're coming with us.
Yeah, it's like we're not taking you for your safety. We're taking you for our safety. Yes. You aren't going to survive fucking interrogation.
We get Merrin just being an absolute bastard, and Larkin being like, "Damn, he really is taking on after Vaughn."
Oh yeah,
we no longer
quite a few characters.
Yeah, we don't really see Vaughn being a bastard anymore. Stories.
Yeah, that's the fucking funny thing. Quite a few of these characters are described as being absolute pricks because they're learning and like prodigies of Ron, and I don't know if that's. Like,
but Vaughn has character development. We've passed that.
Yeah, Ron went through all the development and nobody else did, so he's just teaching everyone else to be the old Ron. It's odd. It's a bit odd. Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned the weird like disjoint between that, because that also comes up in the next book. We'll get there.
We have also everybody back at Commanders, including Gaunt. They're just horrified that McCall has died. It really presses this point home how horrific it is that McCall is dead. Which really
we get everybody's fucking perspective on this. Like,
yeah, and the big thing it tells me is that McCall isn't dead.
Yeah,
they didn't just like, a plane exploded. Goodbye, McCall. They're not. There's no pathos to that.
Yeah, and then he turns up later. No, they like he pushes the point so fucking hard. Everybody gets to hear about McCall dying, and everybody gets to lose their minds over the thought that McCall has actually died somehow.
Oh right, those teams. I said the teams were made of Sergeant, Scout, Sniper, and random protagonist. They also are made of number 5, a Fantine guy who's with them on the drop.
That is true.
So, that's the cyber dogs you were talking about. Cyber Mastiffs, whatever you said.
Cyber Mastiffs.
The hate dogs.
What the fuck are these things? They're like, there's several different words that they use for them. I assume it was all the same thing.
I think, other than the Locksattles. So they get sniffed out here because one of the Fantine loses as a killer getting whipped as they're undercover as slaves with Milo's group. So the Fantine panics and breaks cover, and after a desperate little fight,
break cover then because they
break into some room and they're having a little thing, and they get absolutely obliterated by a Locksattle mercenary. Here is the first time we get to see a Locksattle. Well, there's the Cyber Mastiffs are after them, but they kind of manage to get away from them and back into this.
Well, no, they burst. The first thing that lands in the room is one of the Cyber Mastiffs. I thought,
but they
comes
kill
out
that.
of the ceiling or some bullshit.
No, the thing on the ceiling is the Locksattle.
Oh,
the Locksattle is skittering around on the ceilings. It's fast. It's got a torso-mounted gun, and there's this.
This is why I was confused by the Cyber Mastiff.
Yeah, no, the Cyber Mastiff is a separate thing. The Cyber Mastiffs sent them out and are aggressive things, and they shoot them. The Locksattle they have a flechette gun, so basically a
shrapnel gun.
Yeah, basically just this cloud of shrapnel that just shreds through things. Extremely sharp, I guess. They're skittering around extremely fast, hard to even shoot, let alone hit with the right kind of gun on the ceilings, with their torso-mounted gun blasting flechette at things. And they're always accompanied by this description of this odor of rancid milk and mint. And they're basically impervious to las fire.
This is making a lot more sense now that I know that they're two different things. Yeah, it was a bit weird because they describe the fucking Cyber Mastiffs with 3 or 4 different names, as you said, like the Hate Hounds or whatever. At this point, I just assumed that whatever it was that came in, because it kind of sounded like it was as you said, it crawls around on all 4s and stuff like that, and it has the turret mounted. I just assumed that was the Cyber Mastiff.
No, they're just guard dogs, Chaos Guard dogs, I think.
So does do these Locksattle things? Do they turn up outside of the Gaunt's Ghost books much, or
no?
Nowhere. They're literally just for this story, or
they're I'm going to call them a Sabbath World feature. They're part of this whole Sabbath Crusade thing.
Okay,
I'd say.
Fair enough.
But yeah, we get this odor of rancid milk and mint to remember, and Milo and Nessa escape.
So I wanted to note all of these buildings and the way that the mercenaries are and stuff. Not the mercenaries. Sorry, the Blood Pact and things. It didn't feel as corny as it didn't feel like there was as much corn going on as I expected.
For things called for Blood Pact, yeah, I get that.
I mean, they are definitely corn, because at one point one of them says the name Corn. He says something to one of the slaves. He's like, praise something that whatever something Corn. And he says the name, and then everyone hears the name and shivers. And Milo, I think it says something like, that's one of the 4 names of power that Gaunt told me about. Now, Gaunt apparently knows all 4, according to this,
I guess
and has told Milo about them.
Yeah. Look, he trusts little
Which is
Milo.
An interesting level of dissemination of information going on.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he was his
adjutant,
adjutant, wasn't he?
I guess, but he's still a kid.
Friend.
You're still just a kid who works in
and his friend.
Well, everyone is Gaunt's friend. Yeah, okay, fine.
Gaunt isn't Gaunt's friend.
That is true. Gaunt is not Gaunt's friend. Something else to note: they use a lot of sign language in these scenes.
Yes, especially with Nessa.
And when they use sign language, especially with Nessa, when they use sign language, it is expressionless. So Toby Longworth does his best to pull everything out. So even when characters like Milo, who obviously have specific accents so that you know who they are, when he does sign language, it is more difficult to tell who he is because the sign language doesn't have an accent. Which
Yeah,
I
that
guess
makes
is
sense.
fair. It's an interesting feature. Whoever directed the audiobook went out of their way to add a lot of interesting features like that.
Do you think they have like a specific
that.
director, or do you think that like Toby Longworth is just competent and just knows to do this shit?
Well, if he's doing the directing side of things as well, then he is doing a lot more than most voice actors would. It wouldn't surprise me with Toby Longworth because he's obviously incredibly experienced, because nobody pulls like 1,000 different accents out of their hat without having done a lot of work like this before. But usually there is a director. Like you have someone who will call specific lines, or maybe say this slightly differently. One thing to note: there are a few instances in this book and the next book, and I think the last one actually as well, where Toby Longworth will read the same line like 3 times, and they obviously didn't edit it out by accident. You can see quite clearly he does it 3 completely different ways, and you sort of think, oh, I can see why they went with the last one. but at the same time, it's like you get to see all 3. Which to me is just a feature. I quite like that as a feature, but it's obviously not supposed to be there.
That's quite funny. What else is happening? We have Varl and Bonnen's team, I think, find cargo hauling ships, and they're like, "Ooh, that might be a good way to get to the target." But before they get there, they end up having to go to ground because their cover gets blown.
Yeah, this is obviously another great example in terms of the mission in general of like something you don't normally see the Guard doing, right? Like this feels
initiative.
Very much like it could even have. Well,
the whole thing is like everybody use your own initiative to get there.
Yeah, and it's such a weird mission in general. Like they're sending in a forward team of like 3 small groups of people to assassinate the leader. Like
4.
This is feeling like normally you'd be like, okay, well clearly the minister of Sassatorum or whatever the fuck they're called. Clearly that's something they might do. But like the Guard doing this on their own bat, that seems very unusual.
The Officio Assassinorum are normally only for very, very high-profile targets. I don't know why...
This is the Chaos leader of, like, an entire world, right?
I don't know why these people who are, like, Chaos leaders of these whole sectors aren't high-profile targets enough for that. But, yeah. Maybe not.
You know what I mean?
Sagittarius
though, right?
but yeah, I know what you mean.
Feels very...
Yeah. Like, there are short stories where you follow...
These are sort of the missions we're getting.
There are short stories following assassins, and it's this sort of thing going on. Yeah. We also get to see, I think it's from Merrin and Larkin's perspective, we see propaganda videos where Sagittarius Slafe is like, check out these fucking idiots. I think they like have the Fantine guy still alive being tortured, I think. I could be wrong.
He's definitely at one point, he's like, I know you're here, guardsmen or something. Come out.
Yes.
He's got this whole like, he's got this whole weird fucking propaganda messaging going on.
And then we get this... we get a long sequence about a mystery man on the outside of a dome climbing up it. I wonder who this could be.
I wonder who the mystery man is. Yes, it's Batman. Clearly, I mean, our Batman, which in this case is McCall. Yeah. So as someone mentioned here, I once again don't know who the fucking person is, but they keep mentioning this, which is that they have ancestors. Someone mentions they have ancestors.
Okay. I know what this is.
Their mother wasn't a psyker.
No, I know what this is.
She had a knack
I know what this is.
Of seeing the future.
I know what this is because this is we've been cutting back and forth a little, right? Like we cut back to see Gaunt and everybody be like, "Oh no, McCall died." We cut back again here to Sorek hanging out of Corbeck.
Yeah, there we go. Sorry.
Who is like delirious from his fever or whatever, and it's his great grandmother was a witch and could see the future and is not a psycho, by the way.
Yeah, she just had the knack of seeing the future.
So he says he's had dreams of Corbeck, who is dying to rat demons gnawing at him.
In his blood. They're in his blood.
Yes. He dreamed of what happened to Milo's team, who ends up, with Milo and Nessa escaping. And he wants Gaunt to know that McCall is alive. And then they're like, maybe we should have a little check on Corbeck. And a blood test reveals he was dying to an infection, so Sorek has just saved him.
Yes.
And then with the information revealed to... definitely not. Perish the thought.
He just has the knack of seeing visions.
Yeah. So...
That's a term in 40k though, right? That they use that term... I've seen that term somewhere else, right? When they call them... It's a knack. It's like...
People have different
euphemisms. Is that 40k or is it something else?
People have euphemisms for things like this in 40k.
I thought it was like a very subtle psychic power. Like it was like if
Sure. It feels like a phrase you might have seen.
Control over it.
It's like the sort of phrase you might see in like the Fantasy Flight RPGs, which I know you've played. That's like Dark Heresy, etc. They'll have like descriptions about things like that.
To me, it felt more like this is their superpower. So like instead of having like complete control over their psycho powers, this is more like a very, very focused ability that does something specific.
Yeah, a lot of psychers have got a thing.
When I've seen it come up before, it seems to be the case that they sort of describe it as like they're not true psychers because they don't.
Well, they are true.
They don't.
I mean, a psycher's a psyker.
That makes sense.
But yeah, they're not like a sanctioned psyker who's been trained to do things. A lot of like an untrained psyker usually have like a thing they can do. Yeah.
If psyker is used as a branch for anyone who has any powers like this at all, then yes, they are obviously psychers. But
yes.
Yeah, it does seem like it's sort of given another category when they describe knacks like this.
Sorok has been added to a list of definitely not a psychers in the ghost next to Milo.
The fucking Gaunt, Gaunt's ghost is just like an entire fucking psyker.
We already had Milo and his like suspicious premonitions, and his like dreams, and now
pulling fucking command codes out of ether. Yeah.
Yes. And now we've just kind of forgotten about that, but now Sorok's got a thing. Sure. Anyway, now that Sorok has revealed McCall is alive, we can go back to our mystery man and continue the story of McCall's day out.
Well, remember how I mentioned in the last book that a huge giveaway for Chaos people that you are being infiltrated by non-Chaos people is that these non-Chaos people don't smell like shit. So multiple times in this setup when they're all infiltrating, they mention like the horrible smell as the blood pact past them, with some like mix of like shit and BO or whatever the fuck, like all sorts of other random shit.
The taint of chaos.
So the taint of chaos is shit and BO, I guess.
Yeah.
Sure, I guess.
That's Nurgle. Technically, given their blood pact, they should just smell like blood.
Blood.
Like a little bit of a ferric tang. BO and a ferric tang, I would say.
Khorne cares not from whence the blood flows. That's why, and you got to make sure you cut this joke out.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just feel like they should have been given away like a lot easier when they go running around and they're just like, this guy's he just smells like trees. And
well, the other thing as well is that we do get
trees that be a devotee of Isha.
We see all sorts of stuff about. The Emperor worshippers smell of incense. I'm pretty sure, but
incense.
Incense, Sobrium.
Okay,
but I don't know. The ghosts generally,
what they smell like.
They do talk about like dirtying themselves up and smearing mud on their things. Like they seem to have a handle on it, which is why I think for them being discovered, they had a Fantine guy carrying in a killer who blew their cover.
You're going on an infiltration mission. Let's take all of your fucking Imperial.
I need my little killer
with you.
Yes. Going back to McCall's day out, he's like, we get to see him carefully making his way back to Orenburg and almost dying to the local fauna, like fighting these little like pest creatures, the skin wings.
He almost gets knocked off. Fucking,
he kills this nuisance animal. Yeah, kills it, drops it. A bigger fish eats it, so to speak, as he drops it. So,
Note this is another almost falling to his death thing. So this was set up as well by Abnett. Like he didn't need to be, but it was. I guess
we're just seeing
previously that McCall hates heights.
We're just seeing McCall having a really bad time. But he's this is what I mean though. This is particularly a bad day for McCall because he hates heights, and we just found out that he hates heights, and now he's having more height issues. He's just basically like climbing along this he's like shimmying along a fucking long ledge, isn't he? Something like that.
It's like a railing of some kind. I sort of had the envision that he was sort of, do you know, like in the rafters above like stages and stuff, they have all the lighting equipment and all the gang walks and stuff like that. I sort of had a feeling, a sort of image of that somehow, but I don't know where that was.
This is climbing along one of the pipes from those burn-off stacks, as featured in the map at the start.
Oh shit! Okay.
Literally one of these burn-off stacks with like a long-ass pipe connecting back to the main like thing of Orenburg. He's shimmying along one of these fucking pipes to get back.
So his plane crashed into a burn-off stack, and he just gets out somehow, and then makes his way.
He made it out of the exploding plane onto the burn-off stack, and was like, "Oh fuck this!" Making his way back.
I bet he didn't even look at the explosion.
Well, like the plane's described as exploding while he's still in it. So,
Well, I guess he had his eyes closed at that moment.
It's an action movie.
Yeah.
It's got to be badass. You got to walk away calmly from the giant explosion.
The line,
Michael Bay.
It's something like
you can't do that if you're in the plane.
McCall yells, "Get out! Everybody jump!" And then the plane explodes. It's actually described. It's like, oh.
Yeah, what they don't realize is MacLeod already jumped. He's just gone in a second. He said, he's just that good. Oh, speaking of people who are that good, we now get the bit where they actually try to assassinate the guy.
Not yet. We don't. We have Nessa and Milo.
This very shortly. But yeah, you're right. There's a scene before.
We have a scene where Milo is reminiscing about Adara, who was Adara, I think, I don't know how it's pronounced, who was part of the Ghosts and part of the inner circle, the sergeant from his squad, and now he's gone. Does everybody remember Adara, in the inner circle? I don't.
No, I had no fucking clue who he was talking about. Yeah.
We also get a full page of Abnett Horny posting about how beautiful Nessa is, and the different types of beautiful that different women in the regiment qualify as. Down, boy. Calm down, Abnett.
This is Milo again. This is more Milo Horny.
It is. But, like, you didn't have to do this,
This is just, at this point...
This is Abnett using Milo as a fucking excuse.
Character. Yeah, we just have to understand this is Milo's character.
He's like, I need to make it clear that there are different types of beautiful from different women in the regiment. Milo's going to be horny about it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, so far we haven't. I don't think we've had to see this book from Milo's perspective that hasn't included horny posting. So
we have a Loxatl attack from them, and Milo has the gun with teeth. So they kill the Loxatl and get out from the direction the Loxatl came in. As the Blood Pack come up behind, like, haha, we funnel them towards the Loxatl, and they are surely dead. So they get out alive. McVenna and Larkin, I think, see stuff from, like, Slave's video from earlier. They're like, hang on a minute. These things are copies of that statue from that video. Where does it say? This, like, it's like tourist memorabilia or some shit like that. It's like the equivalent of finding a postcard that's like, hey, this is the Arc de Triomphe, and being like, hang on a minute, I've seen this arc in that video from earlier. So they head there. They're like, we've just figured out where Sagittarius Slave is. Yeah, basically.
Fuck, we figured it out. He's living in the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah, it's literally like a fucking tourist trinket or something that identifies where Slave was in the video.
I love how they yeah, but they didn't know this going in.
No. Well, I guess you're not going to be like, here is every single tourist attraction in the city, just in case there's a video and you need to identify it.
No, but if you're giving them a map of the place, you might kind of give them an idea of like landmarks, right?
Yeah, but it's probably on the map, and you wouldn't necessarily know what that landmark looks like.
I just like the idea that the maps they gave them is actually one of those like fold-out pamphlet things that just has like cartoon images of like landmarks and stuff.
Well, that's probably what they just found. That like
just handing them out in the opposite.
No, they're just like, hey, what's this little like Eiffel Tower thing? It looks familiar. Hey, here's a little tourist map. Whoa.
So here's
I see.
Like, here's the local Cornet shrine. Here is where we do our orgies to Slaanesh.
Well, wait! This is a chaos tourist map.
I don't think it was a chaos statue.
Controls the city.
Yeah, I think. I mean, at the very least, we know it's not a statue of the Emperor because that wouldn't have been left standing. But I don't know if they had time to make
a city. They have to set up their Slaaneshi orgies. It's mandatory.
Yeah, I don't know that they necessarily like cast statues immediately though.
Chaos OSHA will be on your.
They carry their statues around with them.
Mandatory
yeah, but they don't carry the statue there and then immediately set up like making little trinkets, like come visit the corn statue.
Of course they do. They do it to the Emperor. They can do it to Chaos as well. Stop chaos shaming.
It's probably more likely that they've just like in the video. It's like, hey, there's that statue. It's covered in like graffiti, but it is that statue. Chaos love their graffiti.
I want to know what like a chaos tourist bus like trip looks like.
I imagine it.
That's probably where the Slaaneshi orgy is, to be honest. Just on the moving bus, the party bus, the
Slaaneshi party bus.
Oh no!
One hell of a coach party.
Yeah. Okay. So are we there? Are we at the scene yet where they're going to take the shot and they're going to shoot the guy last?
Not yet. Next, we have the airship, the little like airship heist thing. I don't know, is it an airship? It's like the cargo thing, the cargo ship that they're going to fly into the Alpha Dome from the Bonan's group.
I don't know what was happening to me at the time. I don't remember half this shit.
So Bonan's
section,
group, the ones who saved Jagdeer, the pilot, they found like this cargo ship and were like, we can fly that along with the other ones and get into Alpha Dome like that. And then there's a security checkpoint and they have to blow their cover immediately.
Oh shit! Yes, I do remember that.
And Jagdeer is like, what's that? I can smell rancid milk and mint. And we, the readers,
I wish
are like,
I'd understood at the time.
Yeah.
I wish I'd understood at the time what the fuck was going on with this Loxatl, because I just thought, oh, is this a fucking dogs around again? Like, they were everywhere. What do you mean?
So, well, we, the reader, unless you are over him, now understand, oh no, the Loxatl are here. The crew here, it's like, I don't know, it's like a simple, effective way. You like have this information that we learn in real time as the reader from the overarching narrative, but the fucking individual groups don't have this info. So like, hey, they're about to get fucked.
So everybody has to encounter a Loxatl before the mission can continue.
It's, I don't know, it's like
three completely different locations.
It's like a little microcosm of a dynamic that happens a lot in 40k books, because often when you're reading a 40k book, you know more about the state of the setting than like the guy in the setting who is doing things.
That's fair. Well, any book where you jump around as much as Abnett does, you're going to end up in a situation like that as well, even if it wasn't for the 40k.
Nah, but I mean,
you will,
sure. Yeah,
you will learn stuff from the perspective of other characters that are then very, very relevant to the person, to another group, for example.
Yeah, I follow. And he uses it well.
I know what you're saying, though, because obviously, most of the books, most of the people in stories like this you'd expect wouldn't even understand much about chaos, whereas obviously we know a lot more about it because we have the world building behind it.
And then Bonan's lucky star runs out as a grenade. Well, not a grenade. Flies in and explodes in their group, which is a synapse mine. And he falls to the floor paralyzed. A very nice, quick introduction or explanation of this concept just being introduced fresh. I don't know if synapse mines were a thing in 40k before this book, but now they are. For sure.
Absolutely perfect way to take someone prisoner. You just throw a synapse mine at them. It completely disables their nervous system, and then you just pick them up, scoop them up.
Yep. And then the follow-up on Laracel, Operation Thunderhead, happens.
Where was Collier?
We
haven't mentioned Collier this entire time.
We mentioned him before. No, he's not on a mission. He's part of Operation. He's just in a big attack. So this is where he like gives Cuff the letter. He's like, I got a bad feeling. If I make it back, burn this. If I don't make it back, give it to Creed. And he gets on a transport to go on Operation Thunderhead, or as people are calling it, people are calling it O-Day for Orenburg.
Okay.
O-Day was the day O.J. Simpson died.
God damn it.
Okay.
And now we have the setup to the assassination attempt, which is all Laracel 1, Bonin, Val, Badim, Banda, and Jagdeer too, because I think the Fantine died from the Loxatl attack, are now being prepared for a ritual. And they find the Fantine from Milo's squad as well.
Isn't McCall there too? He just appears.
Oh! They find the Fantine from the start. The one who we thought was Wind Waste. He fucking shows up as well. He's here for some reason.
Oh shit! You're right. Yeah,
a good ending for him.
You're right. It was him. It was
maybe
him. He didn't die to Wind Waste. He died. He's about to die in a chaos ritual.
Yeah. Cardinal's injuries are left to the imagination, other than saying he is almost unrecognizable and close to death. And it's like,
yeah.
There's like 50 prisoners, and they're like, we're going to fill this huge fucking cauldron with blood.
So, yeah, typical chaos thing. This is the corn bit. This is the corn bit I expected.
Yeah.
But like the rest of the entire place felt like weirdly absent
chaos.
Of like corn shit.
They've got like hundreds of blood packed. I think dozens of Loxatl, I think they say. And Slave's like, I'm going to do some sacrifices. And Nessa and...
Where's McCall at this point?
And don't worry about McCall. He's having his day out. Nessa and Larkin are both here.
We see this. Yeah, we see this from Larkin's perspective now, don't we? Because it goes to Larkin, and he's set up in this building, and they're aiming down at the at the ritual. And Larkin takes a while to sort of set his sights. He's setting up his shot, and despite the fact that they are not in communication at all at this point, as far as I
well,
I'm
it must
aware,
have just been like the perfect moment happens, and they both just take a shot. You know?
Yeah. Well, what I mean is that like they've had all of this bullshit. I don't know how long it's actually.
They both
them,
show up
like,
in the same spot.
Yeah, they both show up at exactly the same spot. Well, not exactly the same spot, but like similar.
They both at the same
exactly
sacrifice
the same time.
place. Yeah.
And both of them are setting up for a shot, and Larkin gets beaten to the punch by Nessa, who takes the shot first. And then they find out that he has a shield.
Yes. Much like, what's his name? Peterson. He's got like, the high-up officers in Chaos get some juicy gadgets.
Yeah, he's got like a personal shield, which deflects not one, but 2 rounds, I think. From there, I assume they're using the long rounds, right?
Several shots slam into him and he's fine. And Nessa and Milo are like, fuck, and run. And Larkins is like, hang on a minute. Wait a second, guys. I gotta do something. Fucking snipes for chains to free Bonin, which results in Bonin choking out a guard and grabbing a gun. And suddenly the whole situation, like, it's like, what's the opposite of a comedy of errors? It's like a cascade of success comes up, and the ghost suddenly, like, these like 50 prisoners suddenly start turning the tables.
Yeah,
and then
it goes pretty well for way longer than you would have expected, considering the number of guards that must have been around.
And then McCall shows up. Slafe is like, fuck this, and runs off. Enters a room where McCall's like, hello. Guns down to blood-packed bodyguard.
He just knew. He just fucking knew.
He's just like there waiting for him. Yes. Slafe's like, a las gun. McCall goes, that's just a distraction, and jumps out the window. No, says Slafe, as 6 tube charges under the table detonate. What a guy.
Oh yeah, no.
Both of them, really. What a scene.
He like points under the table. He literally points them out, and Slate like looks under the table and sees the fucking explosions.
It's just like just like this absolute comedy scene delivered in the middle of all of this. We go from 50 people's blood is about to be drained into this cauldron to, oh no, 6 tube charges. Ah!
Well, what I fucking love, there is a line in this that I don't know why Abden included this. It's like he felt like he had to add some like technical detail for this. So the tube charges explode, and there's a line that says, his shield holds for 1.34 seconds before it gives up and he dies, obviously, to the explosion. Now, that's great and all, Abner. Thank you for the technical detail. But in 1.34 seconds, the explosion would have been over. Like, it's not going to kill him after that. If the shield held that long, then he's probably fine.
Maybe I don't know enough about explosions. Also, presumably 6 tube charges are destroying this building.
If it's a conflagration, right, then it's a fire, and then he might die after the shield, after the shield elapses.
If it's a detonation.
Yeah, if it's a detonation or an actual like explosion, if it's an actual like high velocity explosion, then the shockwave will have passed him like in a fraction of a second, let alone 1.34 seconds. I'm not sure what exactly the shield was holding against at that point.
Probably a collapsing building.
Pressure bubble. The pressure
bubble.
Yeah,
the building falling on him, maybe.
Yeah, because the explosion will displace the air, and that shockwave often kills people.
Yeah, but the shockwave is the initial like forward arm of the explosion.
The displacement of oxygen by the detonation.
Yeah, all I'm saying is that the force should happen very fucking fast. At 1.34 seconds for the like shield to hold against an explosion feels really strange, and I'm not sure what that would even look like.
And like watch like people test firing artillery. It seems like the blasts take a lot longer because the explosion goes out over the matter of several seconds.
Can I just say, trust you to bring this up?
So I've seen it. I've seen some explosions in real life as well as like videos. But like, if you watch a high velocity, a high speed camera of an explosion, I know what you're talking about with like the collapse basically back into the central like the center point as the air rushes back into the vacuum, but. I don't know. It just seems weird.
Point out is this is
1.34 seconds is a huge time frame for this.
Yeah, but this is not a normal explosive. This is a 41st millennium space explosive.
6 of them.
Okay, sure, but like they're not going off separately, right? They're not going like one, then a second one. They're all waiting for their opportunity to fucking explode.
Bam, 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 bam.
If that was the case, then they would blow each other up.
It's all about how cool it is. Is the moment not cool?
He didn't have to say 1.34 seconds, is what I'm saying.
It's not the
But
most
the only
pedantic
thing I'm taking issue
bit
with
so
is how
far.
long Abnett sets that time frame for. It's the sort of thing that
It's
sounds
supposed
like
to be how cool, and he's got this incredibly powerful shield. Earlier, we see it stopping those shots, but it only lasts for this brief window before it goes out and mission's done. It's a. Have you ever been to any Michael Bay movies, Opium? Because I feel like you
what
just
Transformers.
your brains would melt out
No.
through your ears.
Controversially, I actually love the first Transformers movie.
Have you seen Transformers 4 or 5? Because
No, I haven't seen anything past the second one. Maybe I
you
definitely
clearly
haven't seen
need
the
to
ones where he
watch
rides
3,
a
4, and
T-Rex.
5 so you can educate yourself on. Turn off your brain and watch the cool robot beating up the other cool robot. Because it's the kind of logic Dan Abbott's running on here.
Oh, I just feel like he didn't need to mention the number. Like it feels like he went out of his way to add a technical detail that made little sense to me, at least.
It makes it even more cool.
just fucking add, like, I don't know, just say it's like, I don't know, a fraction of a second, like some small fraction, as opposed to 1.34 seconds specifically, which just seems super long. Like when you're talking about time frames for explosions, I could be completely off the mark here. It just seemed crazy long, and it unnecessarily long. You could have literally said any number here, and it would have been it would have had mostly the same effect. I like the idea though, wasn't he? I like your theory, which is that the building fell on him.
Yeah.
And that's how long it took for the shield to collapse.
Which is, I think, further supported by things that happen, by a description we get later on.
Unlike the building, which wasn't supported after the explosion.
You know what? Immediately after that, you're complaining about that. I have a complaint about the immediate next line, I think, of the book. I've just pulled up the page to look at that, and slave. Okay, first I'm going to read out this line before I move on to that, because it really, Slave stooped and peered under the table. What he saw was 6 tube chargers wired together on a timer. No, he screamed. No, that's what's written.
Fucking stereotypical fucking villain. No.
Yes. With
you can only hear it in Darth Vader's voice.
With 7 O's. A no with 7
O's.
Yes.
Holy shit. Well, obviously, I had no indication of how long the no actually was. That's extreme.
But the line immediately after this that starts the next section. I have a note here saying this might be the worst line of prose I've ever seen or read from Abnett. A long, borderline Gav Thorpe-esque run-on sentence which ends in a really clunky metaphor. Fantine, with its oceanic skies and tempestuous scald, was a planet of storms, but the greatest storm that morning was the human one that engulfed Orenburg. Just kind of want to slap Abnett around the back of the head for writing that.
It's not that terrible.
The greatest storm that morning was the human one.
Yeah, and it is a very clunky
That's
simile.
It's not the worst thing I've read in Black Library, but it's probably the worst line I've seen Abnett write.
Would that be considered a simile? Because it's just a metaphor, I guess, because he's comparing the two.
The greatest storm was the human one. It's a metaphor. He's saying it is a human storm. It is a storm of humans.
But he's also comparing.
I just needed
the humans to the storm he's just described, right?
Yes, I just needed my moan about this.
Yeah,
this uncharacteristically awful line. Well, at this point,
yeah.
So this is where normally in an Abnett book, it would end, but not today.
Typically, this would be the roundup. Yeah, this would be the round-off now. So he would just go through the details and the casualties and talk about it from the perspective of a historian.
Well,
back at the event.
We kind of get that, not in the rushed historical narrative format, but we get a pretty dry play-by-play of the battle for a bit.
And if this was the last book, it literally would have 3 lines and then it would be over.
Yep. We get a dry play-by-play of the battle.
3 lines and it'll be over. We would miss the moment.
Well, there's 2 moments, but we have. I'm glad you've called it that, because I also have in big capital text in my notes the big moment. But right before that, we have Gol Collier. He finds Catherine and Creed, and he finds Creed basically in a situation where she needs rescuing. Creed, the current parent of his kids, and he runs in and saves her and comes back and collapses smiling with a chunk of his head missing due to lock saddle shit. It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
It's pretty.
I remember the first time I read that. I thought like, wow, holy shit.
I can't believe you did this to us, Abnett.
Yeah,
Well,
I can't believe this. And then Abnett's like, oh, did you? That was just me warming up.
Yes. So
for a second, I wondered if he had just straight up killed off Collier, and then sort of later on, you'd think
you get
maybe
the
he just should have.
Yeah. So
it would have been better.
Before we go any further, I have a little thing I'd like to play here. Something from our first set of Gaunt's Ghost recordings.
I know what this is going to be. There are definitely main characters. Abnett does this a lot. He has his main characters, and then he has his maybe side main characters. And the side main characters, you never really know whether they're going to die. They're probably the ones where you've got to watch out for. The main characters, it seems like almost anything can happen to them, and they're fine. They're good. They're golden.
Okay, that's fair. I was sat there with like the most shit-eating grin, just like holding it in, just like I cannot laugh.
I mean, he definitely goes. He definitely sets up a lot of what happens, though, in a way that he hadn't had time to do at that point. I will note as well. We obviously talked in the last book about how many fucking characters there are now. He has so many main quotation mark characters that are like higher ups in the command structure of the ghosts, but also just general people who he's given a lot of time to developing their backstory. So Collier, it's worth noting, I guess here in this case, we've just lost or potentially lost Collier, who's obviously quite a big character. Although we have seen a lot of stuff for Collier, so it doesn't surprise me that he isn't gone completely. But what is about to happen, it's worth remembering that we haven't really seen much of this character much for the last 2 books now.
Yes. Do you want to go into it?
In fact, the only thing we've seen of this character is him getting fucking injured constantly.
This is true.
Almost like Abnett was priming us. He was like, he could go at any moment. He could go any moment. Look, he's really injured again. It's happened again.
He spent a lot of time in the last one, basically like being a good friend to Vamps and helping like support him like morale wise. And in this book, we haven't talked about it much, but there's a lot of like there's a sort of like small conflict between him and his good friend Larkin, where Larkin's like, "Don't rock the boat," and Bragg's like, "I have to do the right thing." We haven't talked about it much, but there's been an undercurrent of that.
The main part of so this is we're talking about Bragg. If you're paying attention to the what's happened so far, we're talking about Bragg. The only time he really does turn up in this book is, as you said, he turns up in conflict to Ku, and in a very brief scene. And in the previous book, he is there. He's part of the Medicaid crew, isn't he?
Yes.
And well, that's hardly surprising because he gets injured at least twice in the last book. I think both times they talk about it as if he's like pretty much potentially going to die. Right at the beginning of the first book, he's like wounded so badly that's like, Bragg's been shot. He's down. It's like, oh shit. Okay.
Yeah, but Bragg's fine because he's basically like heavy from TF2. He'll shrug it off.
Yeah, so it makes you wonder what was Abnett trying to do here? Was he priming us for what's about to happen, or was he actually going to make it hit harder because of how many times Bragg had survived stupid shit? Also, right at the beginning of the book, Bragg gets stabbed by Ku. And he survives that perfectly fine. Interesting. Yeah, it's like poetry, right? It rhymes. Anyway, so we go into this.
You're saying Dan Abnett is the George Lucas of 40K.
Yeah, wash your mouth out.
Well, he can write story. He can write movie like scripts. But I don't think George Lucas could write books, as far as I know. Anyway, going into this scene, Bragg's doing his normal heavy shit. He's got his machine gun. He's got his good loader. His loader is Vamps. Vamps is his loader, right? His ammo carrier.
No, it's some other guy. It's some other ammo because Vamps died at the end of the last book. You may recall.
Oh shit! Yeah, you're right. You're right.
It's someone called Kyle. Kyle. I don't know. Caill. It's just like, I'm going to go get some ammo. I'll be right back.
Yeah, well, due to the trauma, I may not remember the scene very well, so correct me if I'm wrong about any of this, but effectively the guy leaves to go get some more ammo, and while he's gone, Ku appears and confronts Bragg. And so Ku is obviously pissed off because Bragg kind of sold him out on the coin thing, and led to the entire trial, and then ultimately led to him being whipped. And And Ku obviously doesn't see this as Ku being a prick and actually doing fucking anything wrong. So he sees this as Bragg kind of betraying him, even though they were never really friends or anything like that. And then as Bragg turns his back on Ku to go pick something up, Ku smashes him in the head with an ammo case, I think it is. And then when Bragg turns around to confront him, he stabs him in the chest, in the heart specifically, with. I wonder. Is it? I assume it's a. Is it a?
His straight silver.
It's a
Tanith blade at this
Yes, a
point.
Tanith
Is it
knife.
actually a Tanith blade?
Yep, it's a straight silver. It says,
Ku-
in his right hand glittered 30 centimeters of silver Tanith war knife.
Yeah, so he stabs him in the heart, and it's pretty obvious, I would expect, from the way it's described, that this is a final kind of death blow, as opposed to everything else we've seen Bragg go through, which is that, it kind of either happens off screen or is treated as kind of like, as you said, he's a heavy, he'll recover from that. That's So Ku has killed Bragg.
He doesn't just kill Bragg.
Well,
he doesn't just kill Bragg. No, he stabs him in the heart, and then he says, "By the way, I did it." And I liked it that she
whatever
that
could
she
he
struggled.
be referring to?
It was me.
Yeah, well,
I did her, and it was beautiful. She fought, oh how she fought. Not like you big Dumbo. Like, fuck you, Abner.
So
Fuck
if we
you,
didn't
Abner.
think that he was a psychopath before,
And then,
he's
parting last
definitely
thing,
an absolute fucking cunt.
Bragg fucking tries to hit him with his autocannon. And the last words Q has to Bragg are, "Try again, Bragg."
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, which is
As I said,
Before he
it's
stabbed the
fucking
blade down.
traumatic. I
Again, and
couldn't
again.
remember
and
any
again.
of the...
It's a horrific scene.
It is pretty bad.
And
It
cut.
is-
Sorry.
Well, it's true. It is and cut, but that scene is like it is basically the Gaunt's Ghost's equivalent of the Red Wedding from Game of Thrones or certain other scenes. A moment that it's like we're changing the game right here and now, and as Abner himself has said, he still gets some hate mail about that moment to this very day. Over a decade, nearly 2 decades now, probably is 2 decades. No, 2002. It's over 2 decades now after he actually wrote that.
You know what?
Well, Bragg was
Here-
my favourite character on the first book and the second one. So, I mean,
And I need to
It
call
was-
back here. At this point, I need to call back to our first recording where I said I had to warn you, and I warned anybody else reading this book, if you got the anniversary edition, do not read the intro, because it spoils it. Abner, in the fucking
Yes.
20th anniversary edition of First and Only, goes, "Fuck off, cat." Abner, in his 20th
Abner goes, "Fuck off,
anniversary...
cat."
Yeah.
Yeah, he goes,
Abner.
fuck off, cat.
In his 20th anniversary edition of the book, goes, "Man, people really hated when I killed Bragg in book 4. So, like,
Book 5.
five, sorry.
book
Yes.
5, yeah.
No, it was
It's-
Abner
it's,
getting it wrong, not me.
I will say as well, on top of the idea that this is, you said this is the Red Wedding scene. I almost would say I would.
like that. There are moments in certain like stories. There's another one in a visual novel series I'm a big fan of Love. There is a moment where everything changes. Something shocking happens, and it's the author like putting his cards on a table and telling you everything you thought of before. Well, I've changed the game now. How do you like
Yes.
it?
So I just
Those
the only thing I had
shocking
to bring up on there was I was going to say I would almost liken this more to the scene where Ned Stark gets executed, because that's the first scene in Game of Thrones where we realize that J.R.
Anyone can
Martin
die.
is
Yeah.
going to fucking kill people who are the main
But for me-
characters.
For
and
me,
doesn't
the
give a
Red
fuck.
Wedding is the moment the entire story takes a colossal shift. Because again, instead of being killed as like in the first book, we're here in book 5. We are deep in. We are like a good nearly 500,000 words into the Gaunt's Ghost at this point.
I can agree with Obrium on that comparison, though. Like with what you said about, here you go, the game's changed. This is the moment where the game changes, much like Ned Stark's head being cut off is the game changing. But even if the placement of it in terms of like the length of the narrative or whatever might be more that. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, at this point as well, as we said, there was a lot of characters, and it's kind of interesting because I mean everyone remembers Bragg specifically.
Yes.
It's almost like people as well, like the reader in this book might be slightly biased towards the ghosts because everybody remembers Bragg being murdered by a crew at the end of the story, but we just saw Collier get like pretty much lobotomized or potentially even just murdered because I don't think we know, not murdered but killed in war. We don't know if he's alive, I think, at this point. So,
well, I said cut. We get an epilogue. So we have our and now the battle is over, and we have a little epilogue with three things that happen. So one, we have the Kalia and Kurth thing, where Kalia has no recollection of his past, not even his name. And after a brief chat, Anna Kurth has a brief chat with that one other woman that Golkolia had told about the kids. And she tells Kurth, thank the Emperor and walk away. And Kurth is in this awful situation where she had something she was supposed to do if he had died, or he was going to tell him himself if he survived. This is the worst possible thing that could have happened.
Yep. It's like a limbo.
Yeah.
And there's not really a decision that she can make here out from what he said, at least.
So she just
But he was right.
Yeah.
This is why I said to remember the way he worded it. He was absolutely right. He didn't come back from the battle.
So he... Oh, you fucker. Okay. Yeah. So she puts that letter away, presumably deciding not to tell Catherine and Creed. Second thing we get is some reflections from Gaunt about how the Lord General doesn't feel the sting of loss because he's more detached. And also, maybe getting Ku off from the trial charges was the right move because the rift between the Tanith and the Vergastite seems to be healing. And do you know what the third thing we get is? We get a title drop. The Guns of Tanith could fall silent for a while and rest.
So, I think I mentioned this to you a while back, but the fucking title seemed really strange for this sort of story. This is like the last story I would have expected to be called The Guns of Tanith. They spend, as we said at the beginning, they spend most of the story sneaking around, stealth missions, very interesting kind of, there's even an assassination op, so very unlike Guards, typical Imperial Guard kind of operations.
As Jim was pointing
out. And a court drama. This is The Guns of Tanith, I don't know, to me that kind of implies regimental kind of scale warfare with maybe artillery pieces and stuff like that. It's just very much not that at all. So it's an odd title for a book like this.
Yeah, it is a bit, but he got his title drop in.
Yeah, you have to do it in every book. Every book has to have the title drop.
So yeah, it's a. We get two real gut punches at the end there. Mm-hmm. I think you're right in saying this is a book where the game changes, and that's laid bare for us. We get
the theme. As we mentioned earlier, though, the theme is so heavily based around the Vergast versus the Ghost kind of thing. Because even at the end here, we get Braga's dead, Collier is pretty much dead, and another Vergast versus Ghost moment. We had Kolbeck and Sorin. Sorry. Sorry. Kolbeck and Sorik, who were both relatively similar command positions, and both injured.
Well, held in similar regard by the regiment.
By their faction, yeah. And then Ku and Kafran. So, I mean, this in some ways, it almost felt a bit too heavy-handed. Once you realize Dabnett was going so heavy into this kind of the rift between the two factions, it became, almost ridiculous that every scenario had to have a counter on the other side. But it was an interesting theme to discuss, I guess, because now going forward, he can hopefully focus less on that. And now there has been true. What I want to know what that word is, wasn't he? What is the word he uses multiple times to describe the bringing in of the Vergast into the regiment?
I don't know.
The act of something. He calls it the act of something.
The act of one match. The act of consolation.
Consolation, that's it. Yeah, the act of consolation, which is where they brought in they consolidated into a single regiment. They brought in the Vergastites.
It's the act of consolation, not of consolidation.
Yeah, I know. I know. I thought that when I said it. It was just because the word sounded similar in my head, and I just used that word in the sentence. Yeah, that's. I know what you mean, though. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it had to be so heavy-handed, but it was, I guess, a necessary thing to have at some point. It led to a lot of interesting character development, and now we can move on, hopefully, from that.
Now that we're done talking about the story, this section, we've previously talked about, what do we think about this book? Would we recommend this? But it feels like a bit of a, trite point at this point when we're on, book 5 of the series. We're not really recommending a book or not. You're either interested in reading the Gaunt Ghost and have read so far and should keep reading, or not.
Yeah, and I think this is a series that it'd be very difficult to skip random books in between, because Abnett does so much character development / plot, like key plot points along the way, that it would be very jarring to just, like, say, skip book 5 and then go into the next book.
Other than book 2.
So what you're saying is you've basically just wasted our time for the last couple of minutes.
Absolutely. I guess I was just going to say, like, in lieu of would you recommend it, what do we think of the book?
Snape killed Dumbledore.
I think you get to see an awful lot of things in this book which you don't get to see in a typical kind of Imperial Guard setting. From that perspective, I enjoyed it a lot. It plays into a lot of the strengths of the Gaunt's Ghosts, like of not the series, but of the series as well, but specifically of their regiment. It plays into a lot of their strengths, which is obviously good to see and fun to see. Leads to a lot of interesting setups and action scenes that, you know, are very fun, and in Abnett's case, very cinematic.
Yeah, I think it's a memorable book. There's some very memorable conflict and drama. It's one that anybody who's read the Gaunt Ghost series will look back at and remember this book strongly. It's a good book. There's a lot of the stuff that is showcased is very well done, and we get to see some real what's the word, development of the characters and the dynamics within the ghosts in this book. Sure.
What about you, Jimbos?
I already said my thoughts. Snape kills Dumbledore.
That's fine.
That summarizes the entire book for me.
Okay. So we'll call it there. But tune in next time
You can catch us next time for Straight Silver, where we go into the trenches.
I'm telling you now. I didn't like the way this book was set up, but it was still a fun plot.
Well, we'll talk about that next time. So catch us then.